My name's Chloe Knowles and I want to be the campaigns officer for UCLAN.
Hiya, I'm Ellen and I'm running for campaigns officer.
My name's Renee and I'm running for campaigns officer.
I decided to run because I really love campaigning in general, like activism, all that kind of stuff, and I find it really exciting to get people involved, and that's what I want to do.
I'm running because I'd like to make a change. I've got loads of plans, very driven, motivated, and just think I'll be quite good at the job.
I'm running for the role because I really enjoy my time at the student union and I have so much more to give.
I like to think I would be the best candidate because I want to focus on everyone, and I think due to all my previous work being women's rep, I managed to make events very inclusive and not necessarily having a focus. So I like to think I'd be the best candidate because I'm friendly, optimistic and all-inclusive.
So like I just said, driven, motivated, got lots of plans, friendly, easy to talk to. I've got lots of experience, worked in the SU and the uni, so can take it from both sort of perspectives.
People should vote for me because I'm really passionate about campaigning and activism, and I feel that I can bring more representation onto campus that is intersectional and is inclusive, so I feel that I am the best person to represent you.
My top 3 priorities would probably be continuation of Lucy's work, stuff like the Say No campaign, housing, SOS, all that stuff is really important to continue because it's all growing and it needs to still grow. My second of the top 3 would probably be, I really want to work on making the SC like more involved with one another, a huge community. And then third, last one, I really want to focus on mental health and just like making everyone feel safe and secure, be it emotionally, physically or mentally at UCLAN.
Okay, so my first one would be definitely to provide extra support for anyone who's facing cuts, so DSA and the bus cuts, so commuters. My second one would probably be to raise more awareness for 2 services which are sort of under known about, so the Hate Crime Awareness Centre and the library late bus as well. And my last one would be I've got plans to create a freshers pack or a pre-uni pack for different groups who maybe wouldn't get the info that they need usually, so that could be liberation groups, mature students who maybe would receive a parent pack that isn't really relevant to them, and commuters as well.
My top 3 priorities is to improve campus life, to improve health facilities and the way we look at health here at UCLAN, and also liberation, so making sure that liberation is in every aspect of campaigning that we do.
So I'm first going to come to yourself, Ellen. In your manifesto you've mentioned extra support for student groups affected by the cuts. Can you expand on what you want to do, please?
Okay, so as some people might be aware, there are going to be DSA cuts, so that will affect people with disabilities or mental health problems, and things like note takers, the computer things, computer specialist equipment, things like that. So the idea is to try and hold the university to account to this, and also support these students who might be facing cuts. Also, Lancaster Council are doing bus cuts, so this might affect some commuting students who are coming into the university. So just trying to provide them with any alternatives, any support, anything that would benefit them and help them really.
Brilliant, thank you. Chloe, May, do you have anything to add on that point? It's fine if not. I'll come to you next, Chloe. You've mentioned the safety bus and your desire to improve it. What changes do you want to make, and with tight resources around this, how will you make it happen?
Well, when I studied in the University of Central Missouri in America, they have a completely different system for their safety bus. So at the moment, I think it's currently, if you've been out partying, you can't use the safety bus. But obviously, when you're drunk or you have been partying, you're most at risk. So surely the students who are the most at risk should be supported, kind of thing. So if I could change the safety bus, like fingers crossed, if I get in and if I have the resources to change it, I would make it open to donations, because maybe that would further push the fact that drunk students are people who are more at risk, can use it and all that kind of stuff. I don't really know how to do it. And I would also, if in theory, change it so you can ring the safety bus up rather than having to wait half an hour, because there might be a group of students waiting half an hour rather than, I think it would just be better if they could ring up and say they're here now, and then the safety bus wouldn't have to be waiting if there's no one there or students waiting for an extended amount of time, etc. I'm sorry, I'm very tired right now.
Thanks, Chloe. And again, do you have any points on that? No? Okay. Renee, so Hall's was an idea that was tested a couple of years ago and unfortunately failed to work. The university have already got some plans in place, but what would you do differently to last time that perhaps wasn't done to make it work?
So I think looking at certain systems that are in place in other universities across the UK, and looking at the way their whole system works and their recruitment process, and compare it to the way we did it 2 years ago, I think it's important. If a system works, then you can possibly implement it in a different university. So do research and find the best way to implement this the whole scheme. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? Yeah.
And again, Chloe, Ellen, do you have anything to add on that? No? Okay, so I've got some generic questions for all of you, and we'll start with Chloe. So this is coming from Richard. How would you work to improve the disability services on campus?
With the disability services on campus, I think I haven't heard too much because I want to go out and speak specifically to students with disabilities, but from what I've heard, I've heard most of the complaints around mental disability and they need more support. So I honestly, it probably sounds bad, I can't specifically say right now, because I do feel it would be very stupid of me to go off and do my own thing and like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do for you guys, without properly speaking to them author. So I would hopefully try and go to a forum if there is one, or anything like that, and just listen and see what they want from me. I think that's just the best way to do it, in all honesty. But I'm sorry if that wasn't really answering the question, but it's the truth.
Thanks, Chloe. And Ellen?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, I can. So how would you work to improve disability services on campus?
Okay, so with the cuts, like I said before, try and make sure that the services will be the same, and work with the SU to try and get more involvement in the disability society, as there is one it's not really known about, and try and get students with disabilities together and find out a bit like what Chloe said, what their main issues are, and make sure that they're implemented.
Brilliant. And Renee, please. Can you repeat the question?
Oh, that's fine. I think talking to students is a really important part. Before we start moving forward, we need to possibly have a forum. I think forum spaces are really important for getting voices heard. In terms of access to funding, maybe looking at different budgets that we have as a uni, or maybe lobbying the university to look at the way they fund different types of services. Other aspects of improving services for students with disabilities, maybe one point on my manifesto, can I mention that? Diversity training, so making sure that the services are at a high standard, and making sure that staff are trained and are empathetic to students with a variety of disabilities. I think that's really important, that the staff members within the union and also in these wider universities as well are understanding of the variety of different students that we have on campus.
Brilliant, thank you. So another point, another question that came in was around community involvement. So it's been discussed by the community quite heavily around freshers and the safety of students. Do you think that a safe culture on campus is important, especially at freshers? And how would you impact on safe drinking, safe sex, education about drugs, etc.? And we'll come to Ellen first.
Yes, so safe culture is really important, and build on the saying no in regards to sexual harassment, which through personal experience and other people's experiences at freshers is probably the largest. and with Safe Sex build on like the Chlamydia project, which is run through like the Advice and Rep Centre, and drugs, just making sure that people know what's safe, what's not safe, and their own personal needs.
Great. Renee, next please, thank you.
So in terms of keeping the safe campus, I also would want to keep pushing forward Say No and expand it more, keep up with the workshops and making sure more students know about the Say No workshops that's been happening. I think we need to get there's been a lot of publicity, but I think we need to get more students involved who are not necessarily involved with the student union. So we've had a lot of involvement with cousin societies, championing Say No, but I think we need to expand it more to the wider community in other areas in our uni. Can I get you to repeat that question again for the second part?
Yeah, so it's do you think that a safe culture on campus is important, especially for freshers? How would you impact on safe drinking, safe sex, education, not drugs, etc.?
Okay, so freshers is a massive part of when the first cohort of students come in. I think we need to make sure that we have continual events for our freshers and beyond. So if you end up missing the freshers event, so this year we had stalls on the Chlamydia stall. I remember someone running a stall promoting sexual, what's the word I'm looking for? Sexual health and also awareness of drugs. So I think having that stall just in freshers is good, but if you end up missing that part, I think we should have sessions throughout the year so people can, have an opportunity to learn.
Yeah, fantastic. And Chloe, I'll just read the question for you again. Do you think that a safe culture on campus is important, especially for freshers? How would you impact on safe drinking, safe sex, education, about drugs, etc.?
So I won't repeat on, but we're all going to continue the Say No campaign and have a heavy focus on chlamydia screening, etc. And I think that covers safe sex, but I think pushing Say No is like the forefront of what I'm specifically interested in. And I think, especially during freshers, a safe drinking culture needs to be better established, because I know from my personal experience, coming to university when I hadn't properly drank before, there was such a heavy peer pressure on drinking events in freshers. So part of my manifesto talks about having non-alcoholic events pushed as well. So even if it's a non-alcoholic party, that would be amazing, because it's still a party that you can drink Coca-Cola or something like that and dance to. And that would do the world of good, because it shows that for people like me who hadn't drank properly before university, I could still go out with my friends in a club scene and still dance without the peer pressure of doing shots for the first time, stuff like that. And I think that's it. So Say No and then pushing on alcoholic events, really.
Brilliant. And then we have one more question before we come to the audience. What will you put in place to ensure that you get feedback from Liberation reps to take forward to the university? I'm sorry, we'll start with Renee.
That's one of the first points on my Liberation part of my manifesto, is to set up a Liberation network. So as a Liberation rep currently myself, I know how hard it is to run events unless you have lots of friends who are engaged with SU, it's pretty hard to run events. So set up a Liberation network where we have student volunteers and they choose whichever Liberation network they want to help out with. So whether it's the women's rep or the disability rep or the BB rep, there'll be a cohort of student volunteers that will then help that rep whenever they want to run an event. So that's something that I really want to push forward. And it also increases student engagement as well. I'm hoping to live that with literacy hours so that there's more opportunities for students to get involved with volunteering.
Brilliant. And Chloe next.
I'm so sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yes. What will you put in place to ensure that you get feedback from Liberation reps to take forward to the university?
I think going along, I think I slightly hinted in my manifesto, is building more of community spirit. So to get feedback from the Liberation reps, I think it would be really important to have like a casual, informal meeting set up. So even if it's just kind of pushing like, oh, future women's rep, would you like to go out for coffee? And then it's something super casual. Everyone needs a bit of coffee in their life in early morning runs. And me and that Liberation rep can just meet up. I can hear about everything that they've done. Maybe on a wider scale where all the Liberation reps meet up with the campaign officer, and maybe go to Nando's, which I know is super popular this year, sort of like, and, so anything like that where it's an informal meeting, where there isn't as much pressure on as the forums, would be, I think they do a world of change, because then you don't feel like you need to bring out all the big manifesto points, etc. Like you just sat down and you can say what's on your mind. I think that would
And Ellen, please.
So my idea is quite similar to Chloe's actually, meeting up with the reps individually and then together, and also they could meet up without me to have their own chats and then maybe come up with things they want to bring as a group to me or individually, as I think all together the groups can all work really well and then bring it forward.
Brilliant, thank you. So now I'm going to take it to the floor, and the lovely Josie Linsell is going to be our winner. So does anybody have any questions for our campaign candidates? Yes, okay. Emily Peake first, please. Wait for the microphone.
Hi there. So my question is about #SayNo. Currently, at the moment, not many sports and societies are engaging in the project. As a campaigns officer, what are your plans to make sure that more sports and societies do engage?
And we'll come to Renee first, please.
So your question was how we're going to get sports and societies engaged more. Obviously, we have to work with the next AP officer to, I think, getting societies involved when they're first forming. I think is really important, instead of when they've already kind of made their friendship groups and they've kind of settled in. I think getting into sports and societies when they're formed at the beginning means they can have a philosophy of say no right from the start when they're just meeting each other. So getting involved with the AP officers is how I'll go through that.
And Chloe, please.
One of the things I've discussed privately with people in Islington and Lancaster is kind of looking at source and looking at pubs that people go to. And I know this year Say No did a night out, and sports and societies are quite famous for their nights out. So I think having more Say No nights out or Say No themes for their nights out, and for the non-alcoholic societies, they're usually more structured in their events. Like if they're having a dinner, that needs to be planned weeks in advance kind of thing. So if I would then say, oh, please may I also come and just discuss saying no, and all that kind of stuff, as well as working with the future APO, as Renee said, like getting that conversation started earlier on is always going to make the world a difference. So starting in freshers, starting these Say No themed nights out in freshers perhaps, would really change things up.
Brilliant. And Ellen, please.
So following up from Renee's and Chloe's points, mine would be quite similar, but I'd also try with the APO to get involved as well in their sports and societies, as I don't just want them to get involved in Say No, I need to get involved in what they're doing as well. So they might just think, oh, she just wants us to join Say No, she might never see us again, but try to be more of a part of the sport club and the society, so that like I can come along to their maybe to their socials, their dinners, all those kind of things. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And next question, Callum, please.
Yes, so Chloe touched upon the non-alcoholic ideas for sort of freshers, which is, I feel, as someone who doesn't drink much, is a fairly sort of new idea and a good one. I just wondered for yourself and the candidates if what else you plan to do to help freshers and new students to the university that's maybe new or that hasn't been done before, just to make their experience more comfortable and sort of better for them when they arrive.
So do you want me to answer first?
You can do it.
Yeah, go on.
Was it, to shorten the question, just basically how can I get new freshers more comfortable?
So basically what else are you're planning on doing that can help sort of new students at the university that's maybe something that's not been done before, or that you're not expanding on something that has?
Admittedly, I'm not too sure, but I think probably I really liked, in my first year I lived in Lancaster, and during the first week we had a pizza party there, so maybe having like I think Hannah wanted to do make it like your mum does. What was that campaign? Stuff like that. So like we could kind of bribe them with food to come to parties. And let's face it, they're freshers, they don't know how to cook. They're probably going to be eating takeaway pizza for a long time. So if we got them to a party where there's loads of food for them, and maybe they'd even be cooking their own food, that would be really interesting, and they'd be making friends with somebody knows how to open a jar and I'm too weak, and boom, a friendship started already, and all that kind of stuff. So admittedly, as I started, I don't particularly know what I want to do to start these new events for freshers, but I think I really do want to focus on a really positive, non-alcoholic, and obviously some alcoholic events as it is freshers stereotype, just to focus on positive aspects of things that are new experiences and almost educational in a sense, because we are at university.
Thanks, Chloe. And Ellen, please.
So I'm not really going to talk much about events. For freshers, my kind of feeling is trying to get people settled into uni. The events are brilliant and obviously important, but also settling in is really important. So targeting groups who maybe don't have the info that they would need. So tutor students, community students, liberation, rep students perhaps, people with disabilities or mental health issues, maybe pre-uni packs or specific fresher packs or emails or just general bit more info for people who might need a bit more help settling in when it comes to freshers.
Brilliant. And Renee.
So in terms of improving freshers, I think one of the ways we can go forward with that is one of the hall reps if that works. Alternatively, making sure that the freshers is as inclusive as possible. So in addition to having alcoholic and non-alcoholic events, perhaps looking at the structure of the freshers events and the timetabling, so that perhaps if you're a commuting student, it's kind of feasible for you to attend an event. If it's too late at night or too early in the morning, it's not making commuting students feel that they're involved, and there's quite a large cohort of students who do commute to UCLAN. Another point is freshers generally, looking at statistics, we have a really good freshers experience. Students really enjoy it. However, one of the main points I found looking at the data was that mature students don't really feel involved, and students who are nursing students as well. So if you're a nursing student, you may be on campus maybe a few days a week. So making sure that or perhaps you start later on in the year as well. You may start in October time, and some students start later on in January time, and I think refreshers is a good idea. So building upon refreshers and making sure that's as good as the freshers, and just making sure that it's an inclusive freshers experience, so that students who are mature feel that they can, perhaps if they have children or if there's a commute, that they can make sure they can come to those freshers events. So overall, making sure that freshers is as inclusive as possible. That's what I was trying to say.
Brilliant, thanks Renee. And because we didn't start demo 5, we're going to take one more question if there is any from the audience.
Go for Twitter.
Have you? Yeah, can you read it out? Thank you.
Cool.
So the question we have on Twitter is from Tasmia, and it says, our campaigns officer has been doing amazing work around housing. Straight in with a compliment for Lucy. What are our candidates going to do around this if elected?
And we'll go to Ellen first.
Yes, I want to carry on Lucy's hard work with housing, especially the love-hate rate, and find out what students like about the landlords, what they don't like, trying to get a better sort of accreditation scheme, trying to get it a bit out there, who's good, who's bad, and there's probably everyone in this room who's had an experience with a bad landlord. So just trying to improve with the students in the ways that they want it improved, and so trying to find out how they think housing can be improved as well.
Fantastic. And Chloe, please.
I feel like we're all going to be saying the same thing, but we're all continuing on with Lucy's wonderful work. And I really like the love it, hate it, rate it thing. Maybe even second part of the UCLAN website to have that specifically on. I'm not too sure if it's already on there, who knows. Maybe have like a Tinder for housing and landlords. That might even be something funny, like, you know, because I think the way to engage best with students is to make it simple, easy and funny. So if we made, such as the crowd laugh, Tinder for landlords, like but at the end of the day, a tender for houses would be super simple. They would make it a lot less stressful, stuff like that. Just make it fun.
And Renee, please.
You can probably guess what I'm going to say. Of course, I'm going to be continuing with UC's Love It Hate Rate scheme, and making sure students are aware of the scheme as well. So if they're looking to move from halls to private housing, that they know that the service is there, that we can come and we can check their contracts. If they're worried about moving to a certain part of Preston, that they know that the service is there. So to more increase awareness of the schemes that we have. I think in addition to looking at housing, I want to look at UCLAN own accommodation as well. So perhaps looking at improving the standard of living in halls, and in certain halls and camps, I won't name any, that have nicknames for their quality. And so they're quite close to the student union, so you kind of can guess, the halls. So improving the standard of living and making sure that students feel comfortable in their homes as well. So I think increase the standard of living in UCLAN accommodation and increasing awareness of the schemes we have to help if you want to move into private accommodation.
Fantastic. And thank you everybody for your questions. We're now
Hi, my name's Emily Peake and I'm running for the role of Activities and Participations Officer.
Hey there, I'm Ed Evans and I'm a third year biomedical student here at UCLAN, and I'm running for APO, Activities Participation Officer, here in the SU.
My name is Stephanie Wood and I'm running for APO.
My name is Mike and I'm running for the position of APO.
Hi, I'm Molly Palin, I'm running for APO.
I'm running because I want to bridge the gap between all areas of the Students' Union and the university. I also want to create more opportunities for you as a student to get involved, whether it be non-committal or employment-based.
I'm running because I've now been president of Rugby Union for 1 year now, and we're doing great, and I really enjoyed it, and I've learned lots of great skills, new things, and that's just made me want to do more and progress to help sort of the union as it is.
I'm running to ensure that everybody's voices from sports and societies are equally heard and represented fairly.
I'm driven to improve the sports and societies to bring pride into being part of your chosen sport or society. I believe that the life experiences I've had will enable me to support all students. I want to give back to the student union and help all students.
Well, I think that from being captain of a sports team for a year, there's a lot that could be done in the SU, such as an increase in inclusivity, and a lot more training needs to be done for committees. I also think that we need to tap into employability. So there's quite a few things that personally I feel we need to work on, and I think I'd be the best person for the job.
I have a lot of experience working in a sports setting and as well as the events industry, and I'm also part of both societies and sports, which means I'm one of the only candidates that fully bridges the gap.
I feel like I'm the best candidate because I'm enthusiastic, full of ideas, fresh, and just really want to sort of help the union and work from different angles but all towards the same goal within the SAC.
I believe I'm the best candidate as I have a lot of experience in different types of sports. I'm also part of the volleyball team, and I'm also studying sports studies, which gives me a different perspective on how sports are involved in universities and society.
I've been involved in many aspects of the student union. We've been chair of the squash club and turned the club from a small club into a large club with both male and female participants. Due to my role on the sports development committee, I understand the workings of sports teams and what you, the members, want. I also chair the Sports Societies Forum and interacted with societies and believe I can give them the fair and equal representation and opportunities they deserve.
Well, first of all, I think that I'm driven by passion, which I think a lot of candidates can tend to lack. For me, it wouldn't be just a job. I think that sports and societies at UCLAN are a really important part of the university experience. So I feel that I can bring a really passionate drive to the job. Secondly, I think that I have worked alongside the university, so I think that it's really important to have someone who knows what they're doing, knows the right people, and also who's willing to go out and talk to people and find out what they want, and I'm definitely the person to do that.
So a few of my points. Let's go for number one. Healthy UCLAN. So let's try and drop this unhealthy stigma we have as students. So drop noodles, sort of Pringles, beer, and start having a healthy lifestyle. So improving sort of body image and sort of getting the Get Into project and Green Ladder involved. So having sports nutrition courses come in and do briefings on diet plans and sort of what we should be eating. And then having sort of Get Into sports in the atrium, just showing us where we can go for sort of non-book sports and just having fun and trying to disguise exercise as sort of having fun with your mates. The second point is communication. Communication between the union, societies, courses, sports teams is not quite good enough, and we need to sort of knock down that barrier between each one, so sports team and societies in particular, because a lot of people don't even know who the APO is, what we can do and how we can help, and the union is there to help those sports teams and events and fundraising to go. The third point, I think varsity is a massive thing, and in our term it'll be at home, so I think we should start getting non-bucks teams and get them involved, and having a more sort of being proud of UCLAN and getting involved varsity and getting that hype up and becoming more proud of UCLAN.
My top 3 priorities are to change the lad culture around sport, to ensure that sports are a safe place for people to go to, no matter what sexuality they are, ethnicity, and also if they're non-drinkers. I want to make sure that they're safe places for people to go and have fun, and it's a place for them to release and relax. I also want to ensure there's more support for societies and sports. I know as a new committee member for the volleyball team, there were some challenges that we experienced, and I want to ensure that people have enough support as they possibly can, and also to analyse the funding and equipment that the university provide, as there are some sports that don't have enough equipment. So during Freshers Week, if people want to turn up and join in, they physically can't because they don't have enough equipment. I want to try and analyse this and see if there's any way we can get more money, or even getting in touch with local clubs to see if they can donate anything.
The top 3 priorities are to make students proud to be part of UCLAN sports club or society, to give support and guidance on the mental health issues of all students who interact with the sports and societies and any other volunteering roles, to give a voice to all members of sports clubs or societies.
So my top 3 priorities are inclusivity, employability and accessibility. So I think that to make it more inclusive for people is very important, because only around 3,000 of the 27,000 students here actually take part in a sport or activity. So I think that's really important. Employability, we need to tap into the resources that we have as people and our transferable skills. And accessibility, so to make it even easier for committees to advertise, promote, recruit members and to retain members.
Thank you. So for the first part, we've got a question each on the manifesto point. So I'm going to come to Steph first. You've mentioned lad culture in your manifesto, and obviously we currently have the SAC campaign, which was mentioned before, which looks to address the same issues. Are you looking to start a completely new campaign, and how are you going to exactly tackle lad culture?
I do remember a couple of years ago there was a campaign around lad culture. I do say lad culture, just because it's not just lads that do it, it's everyone in sports and some societies as well. I do want to carry on the hashtag Say No campaign as sort of incorporated with it. I don't want to do a brand new campaign because I don't want to sort of disrespect the work that's already been done. I want to establish interlinking items into, how to explain it? And just working with sports teams to establish that this culture really isn't okay. Sports should be, and societies, they should be a place that people can go to and feel safe and relaxed and not be harassed into doing something that they don't want to, working with different elements. I think that's sort of the best way to go about it.
And does anybody else have a point on that? No? Okay, so we'll go to Ed next. How are you going to expand on the Out in Sport campaign, as you mentioned in the manifesto?
Well, obviously, Tom's done great work with outside of the Out Sport campaign, and it's also got recognition of books and used as a case study, so that's great. But with Out Sport and hashtag Say No, that's only covering sort of two parts of a much wider scheme. So what I want to do and how I want to do it is go to Bucks, which is running a campaign called hashtag Take a Stand. And in that campaign, they look at 8 different things. So sexism, racism, sort of LGBT phobia, which is covered obviously by Aaron Sport. And then we want to sort of crowd behaviour as well as disability, and that's including mental health. And that goes back to my manifesto point number 1, so healthy UCLAN, healthy body, healthy mind, where we improve our healthy lifestyle, drop the student stigma, and really sort of increase our lifestyles. Then going on to sort of faith and initiations, as well as what's going to do? Yeah, so that's so we've focused solely on 2 at the moment. So hashtag Say No to sexual harassment and Out in Sport. So I want to take that further and broaden our horizons a bit, and especially I've doubled in that in my manifesto. So we've got disability, sort of healthy mind, mental health and things like that, as well as so that obviously links in back to mental health. Your heads together, hashtag heads together, so that's getting that involved as well, because there's also racism as well, which Bucks are also doing, which is Say No to Racism, and UEFA also do one. So linking all this together and really broadening horizons a bit, and really trying to progress that a bit more.
Okay, thanks guys. And coming to Molly then, because you mentioned, yes, go on Emily. Yes, you can.
So I'd actually like to see Out in Sport taken away from the APO and move towards campaigns. Now, the reason that being is that it definitely needs to be taken away from sport, and whereas involving Bucks is a good idea and incorporating hashtag Say No into that, it does need to move into societies and other student groups which are around campus. I mean, for example, in societies there's a lot of hate crime happening at the moment. UCLAN SU is developing their hate crime reporting quite substantially, and by keeping hashtag Say No within the Bucks remit, Out in Sport in the Bucks remit, it doesn't incorporate the other areas which needs it to develop.
Yeah, go on ahead.
So the whole point of hashtag Take a Stand is that Bucks are doing it, so it's a national scheme, it's a campaign, so that'll help us as a university to broaden our horizons and touch on those 8 points, as well as using our sports community to empower a positive cultural change.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Molly now, putting on the stand here a little bit, because you mentioned knowledge around inclusivity in your manifesto. So maybe tying on both of them points, what is it that you want to do, how are you going to get students interested in inclusivity?
Of course, yeah. So I don't have the actual figures, but it's around 3,000 out of 27,000 students here at UCLAN that take part in sports and societies. And although that is, compared to other universities, a big number, I don't think it's as big as it could be. And I think that involving other students is such an important part, because I know for me and for other students that I've spoken to, your sport or your society when you're at university becomes your family. And the fact that there are around 24,000 students who may not be experiencing the same thing that I've been experiencing and other people in sports societies as that community, that family, I think that's a shame, and I think that they need to be tapped into. So I think that we need to look more at commuters, look more at mature students and how we can include them. So schemes like Give It a Go I think are fantastic, and in my manifesto I've got Give It a Go for societies. So societies can put on events where they can, so say Disney Society would have a film showing and you can come along, see if it's for you. If not, then that's fine, but at least you've given yourself the chance to be included in that group, and I guarantee that there is something for everybody. There is definitely something for everybody at this university. There's around 100 societies. There's something for everyone, and I think that everyone deserves to be a part of something like that.
Fantastic. Does anybody else have anything to comment on that? No, okay, we'll come to you, Mike. So you mentioned an increase in communication for societies. Do you have any ideas of how to establish that?
Well, I mentioned it because when I chaired the Sports and Societies Forum, it was never really communicated as well about the events that were going on. And so we'll be creating something so societies are always informed more, given the voice that they deserve, because part of society you still should get your voices heard and be a part of UCLAN and the SU. It's just making sure that people know what's going on, when it's going on, and everyone's events are attended, no matter if you're a small society or a big society.
Brilliant. And finally, Emily, your question is around your point in regards to media. So how do you intend to work with media to produce more coverage?
So I want to develop a bit of a spectator culture within particularly sport in order to make our games more fun and to tap into the fact that some people who don't want to play sport may want to watch that. Media is a big part of that, and what I've seen from being on the editorial team of Pluto is that we need to move more into covering a wider range of sports. So for example, currently no one covers our women's rugby games. Going out, finding those journalism students who are A, not engaged in the union, but B, also we can use them to give them the experience and then bring them to the matches so we can cover a wider range of sports and tell more people about sports.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to pick up on that? Mike, yeah, go for it.
What I mentioned about obviously people attending the games, it will be what I'd like to do is obviously have whatever books matches, or use American football as an example, is that obviously one of the biggest clubs that we have, sports clubs, and they've obviously been highly successful, and it'd be great, like I said before on the radio, that'd be great to have like 1,000 people there watching the matches, or the football, or let's say women's rugby, or no matter what sport it is, it'd be great for just to get people from the university there supporting it. So be like a fixture list, like constantly each week, a different one saying where the games are played, and people will know about it and hopefully can create like this big atmosphere and big hype for the games that are played.
Brilliant. And Ed?
Yeah, so I totally agree with that. Sort of bringing a sense of being proud of your uni back, and sort of my third point's about varsity, and that's fits in exactly with that. So of being proud and just trying to use media in that way, in a positive way to spread sport, and also going back to your point of bringing sort of academic courses in. My first point goes into saying how to bring nutritional courses in and nutritionals to go into teams and performance societies, especially to give them dietary plans, dietary requirements, because a lot of people don't know where to go, what to do and where to find it.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, guys. Right, we're going to come to the audience because I'm aware that there might be a lot of questions. Does anybody have any questions at all? Right, can we go to Joe first?
Yeah.
Thank you. And if you do have a question for a specific individual, can you please direct it at them? Thank you.
So something we do a lot is affiliate lots of small societies, ones that have maybe 3, 4, 5 members. So as APO, what is it that all of you are going to do to help those go into things that are big and flourishing, like the Islamic Society or the Physics Society?
We'll come to Steph first, please.
I think increasing communication and, like some of the other candidates have said, increasing that media exposure for people, so getting people onto big Facebook groups, posting it throughout the freshers pages, and also making sure that people know where they can go to attend those meetings, so that I personally found it quite difficult to find out if I wanted to go and visit a society. I didn't know where they were meeting up, so making sure that that information is readily available for any member of the student body that wants to appear, and especially for international students or second semester students, that information isn't really out there for them.
And we'll go to Emily next.
As someone who runs a small society, we currently have 5 members in the Blessed Society. I think there is a place for small societies. It's a niche market. We don't want, in particular, in the Blessed Society, 100 people at our meetings where we're all like potentially getting naked, basically, in front of each other. It won't help what we're trying to develop. Of course, we are going to want to expand a little bit, and that's what the APO needs to facilitate. But I think we also need to recognise that these small societies have a place, and that if we're going to bring in this whole idea of there's something for everyone, then yes, we need to make these niche and small societies flourish just as much by supporting them with funding and easing the room bookings for them.
Thanks, Emily. And go to Molly next.
Yeah, I completely agree with that point. We don't want to integrate these smaller societies with bigger societies just because they are small. They do have their own place, and if they have been created, it's because somebody wants them there, and we should never take that away from the creators of the society or the members. But for me, advertising and promotion is a big part of my manifesto. I believe that there are so many good events being run across the union that are not heard about enough. And we need a central place where you can go and see what's going on. It's such simple ideas, and there's nowhere really that you can go, no one place on Facebook, no one place even on Blackboard, where you can go and see what is going on this week, who's running it. There's not a list that says who is in charge of what society, how you contact them. If you want to go and join a society, you have to first know that society exists and then go out and find it yourself. So I think that having promotion and advertising and even just a simple list of what's on, where it is, would make it so much more beneficial for people who are trying to find out these where these societies and clubs are.
Yeah, we can continue down the line, Mike next.
Yeah, I agree with what's been saying. Like, even if you are a small society, if you do want your voice and your society to be known about, and then we'd obviously want to communicate that to everyone. Obviously, if you don't and you want your private meeting, because obviously if you're a small group, it's usually a group of friends that are interested in a particular thing. But also, it'll be doing freshers and also like refreshers, so people, like I say, have a big list, or when people move into halls or etc., that there is literally there, you know what society is available, and people need to know that if you want to create a society, you only need 4 members to create that society. It's just obviously making the voices heard when it wants to be heard.
Thank you. Next, please.
Yeah, so to an extent I agree, but it has been in the case that bigger societies have helped smaller societies. So I believe ISOC helped the Palestine, which was a smaller society, but they really took them under the wing. So a similar society can also help. So say if rugby were a big society, we had a tag rugby session or 7 sessions, then we could easily take them and sort of mould them and give them a little bit of a boosting start and a little bit of sort of media time, as well as sort of going into sort of spreading the word. We have like refreshers events, so it gives that platform for those smaller societies to actually, show off what they've got and what they're about and why they're there in the first place.
Fantastic. Any more questions? We'll go to Carolina. Oh, sorry, we'll go to Megan because you're up there, sorry.
Hi guys. I know a few of you have mentioned in your manifestos about sorting Wednesday lectures and fixtures, and I know Emily's just mentioned it, but how do you continue, what is your plan to continue room bookings? Because obviously that's a problem, especially for performing societies.
Right, we'll go to Mike first, please.
Well, it's working with the university to obviously get rooms available and making it a lot easier for people to put on events. And even if the university can't put the actual, like say, big events on, it's using people within the local area. Obviously I'm from Preston and I know there's a lot of people obviously willing to get involved with the union. So if you need the space, obviously there's lots of places in town, even if it's like, or a pub, but not particularly a pub if you don't want to drink or anything like that. It's just using what Preston has to offer, and not just the university, so it's working with everyone in Preston.
Thank you. Go to Ed next.
So room booking and timetable has always been a bit of an issue, but I believe it's taken it up this year especially, and I think it will. So like the master plan shows that the campus size will be getting bigger throughout, maybe not our time definitely, but that there is things in there for where the campus size will increase. And for performance societies and academic clashes, I believe that should be helped out this year because academic staff have to submit their timetables earlier on in the year and really find out where times are, so where free starts are and things like that. So.
Thanks, Ed. And then Molly, please.
Yeah, absolutely, that's a really valid point. After speaking to many societies, that is the one point that is consistently being raised, that societies are made to feel like they're not as important because they don't have a place to go all the time. I do think it's important that you are a site, you are part of the union, and you need to have continuity. How are you supposed to recruit members if you're moving around all the time and it's different times, it's different places? So I think that creating a sense of continuity so that this society is in this room at this time every week. I know that's far-fetched at the moment, going from where we are to where we want to be, but that's my aim, is to get every society in the same place at the same time, so that you can then start to recruit and build on that. You can advertise a location and a time. I think that it's important to utilise the like an online room booking system so that you can access it yourself. You don't have to keep going into the offices and going around in circles. I know it's very frustrating for societies. So yeah, an online room booking system would be the way that I would go forward with that, so that we can access what rooms are empty through the online system, and then we can book them that way. So that would be the way I'd move forward with it.
Thank you. Just carry down the line. Thank you.
I have spoken to a couple of performance societies. I spoke to a member of the Drama Society, and I do believe that they had a performance scheduled in the art centre next to the library, and that was completely sort of written off by some performance students actually going in and saying, no, you can't use this space. And I'm aware that it happened in another lecture theatre as well. A timetabled lecture had actually clashed with that. So it's about making sort of links with maybe even Source, using the club space, the venue space downstairs, and also maybe creating links with places in the community that have got big open spaces that are suitable for all those sorts of performances. I know there's been a lot of work done with room bookings. I know some full-time courses such as student nursing and NHS courses have still got some issues. But like Molly said, it could be just implementing an online booking system that could be the easiest way to go.
Thanks, Steph and Emily.
Okay, first of all, there is an online room booking system which is currently available. However, it does need to be adapted to, well, no, it's very simple to fill out. The only thing it doesn't have is the fact that you can't specify a repeat booking. You just have to email in, but it's communicating those issues. The main issue is the performance societies, because most of the other societies are able to use classrooms or lecture theatres. I've been chatting to Jo Young, who's running for Education Officer, and Callum Taylor, who's running for MFP School President, and to have a look at putting a proposal together for the master plan to create more performance spaces on campus, because from an academic course point of view, they still struggle, and societies can't take their space. They're paying £9,000 and we're doing it for fun kind of thing. We can't take their space, it's not fair. So we need to create more space for both the academic courses and societies too.
Thank you. Does anybody want to come back on that at all? No. Next question. Who has questions? Right, sorry, can we come to Carolina, because I did say her last time, sorry. And then we'll try and come to you, Megan.
So there's been a lot of talk surrounding mental health and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, as a psychology student and school president for school psychology, I'm kind of a lot into my research and all that. Do you guys have any plans to do research into mental health in students that are involved in sports and societies, and to look out how you could improve that, what kind of campaigns or what kind of events you could kind of put on to specifically target those groups that a lot of times, I had a conversation with Mike before, and he was saying that a lot of times lads in sports don't...
Carolina, sorry, can I stop you there? What's your question? Sorry.
So, do you have plans to research students' mental health, and what are you going to do to improve it specifically for students in sports and societies?
Thank you. I will start with Emily, please.
Okay, so that isn't something that's actually on my manifesto,
and I do believe that it would be the campaigns officer that takes a lead on that, working with the APO, supporting them. But like I said, I'm a psychology student too, and it's very well known that the endorphins that are released when you exercise make you feel happier. And so, you know, bringing mental health into sport as a bit of a focus would be a good idea. But it isn't something that I do plan on focusing on.
Yeah, Steph next, please.
It isn't a sort of a direct point of my manifesto, but sort of changing that idea around sports with the lad culture will hopefully have a knock-on effect of improving people's mental health, because that is such a harassing and bullying mentality that some people do have, and some people can't actually physically sort of stand up to those people because they feel like they might be persecuted for it. So hopefully by changing that culture around sports and societies, that'll sort of have a knock-on effect. But it's not actually a main point of my manifesto, unfortunately, but it would be something I'd be very, very willing to look into.
Bill, I'm just going to walk down the line. We're just going to go down the line. Sorry.
Okay, so it is on my manifesto. It's quite a big point on my manifesto, is the fact that, yes, we do have systems in place at UCLAN for students who are suffering with mental health issues, but they are not utilised as much as they should be, because it is almost impossible if you're suffering with mental health to approach these sorts of things. Personally, I've spoke to people and they felt that no matter how approachable you make it, it is difficult for the individual. So for me, I think that committees for sports and societies need more training about what is accessible to them at university. Because if you have a problem, as captain of women's rugby, I know that if my players have had a problem, then they've come to me as their captain or as their committee. We are the people that they go to, because we're their friends, we're not a stranger, we're a friendly face. And I do not have the training and will never have the training to be able to give them advice. But I do need to be able to know, to tell them where to go and what they can do, and hold their hand through it, walk them through it, go through it with them. So for me, it's really important that the SU realises that sports and societies become your family when you're at university, and we have a duty of care to our players and members, and we need to have better training to know what we need to do if they need help. Because at the moment, this year, people have approached me and I felt completely underprepared, and that's not acceptable. If people approach me, I need to be able to know what to do. So that's how I intend to help.
Well, I know that there has already been a study looking into mental health within, and that is the reason why we now have a mental health team within the university. It was only brought in February, but it was done because of the people at Student Services looked into it over the summer and brought it to the university, so that there was a lack of support for mental health, which I feel should have been done 5, 10, a long time ago than it already has. Obviously there's now a 24-hour mental health person involved. There's 2 other people actually within the mental health team, and obviously as APOs, and obviously being in charge of like squash and the other people that other clubs that we're in charge of, we should be able to be given training to spot signs on like if you can notice if someone's obviously like a bit quiet or going out to like ask them, is there something up? Or like, well, an area within the student union, just to be able to say like, I might not know exactly what to say, but there is services available if you want to speak, and especially for lads, because as a lad, you don't tend to talk about feelings, and that's a major thing that needs to be changed. And so yeah, about the lad culture, etc. So,
Thanks, Mike, and lastly, Ed.
Yeah, so to carry on those points really, that there's hashtag sort of heads together where we're sort of looking at sort of training staff, I believe, and then that can filter on through to having committee members, sort of kind of like advisors, but just teaching them, training them of how to sort of deal with those mental health issues within teams. Like Molly was saying before, so once you join a team, you know, your best advisors are your friends and your family, and your team is your family, and it's a great way to sort of filter in those sort of committee roles and being a role model within your sport. And obviously sport is a great way of sort of approaching mental health as well, you know, and that's what we do for APO, so that's
Thanks, Ed. Okay, can we go to Megan, please? Can I just ask candidates to keep their answers as short as possible? Thank you.
Megan, please.
Megan, yes. Sorry, Josie.
I'm on the Sports Development Committee, so I've attended quite a few of the Sports and Societies Forum meetings. The impression that I get is that sports teams feel a lot more comfortable coming forward and getting involved in the SU. How would you work to sort of encourage societies to be a bit more confident in coming forward and getting involved in things like that?
Well, thanks, Megan. So if we can start at the other end, Ed, and please keep your answers as concise, because Tom really wants to ask a question.
Okay, so quickly on that then, so societies getting them involved, point 3 on my manifesto is sort of, or point 4, is Clash of UCLAN, so we have like the app, we have sort of like in the atrium a big border where societies can get involved, sports teams, courses, even staff, just all get involved and have sort of a mass participation, not exclude anybody out from that. I think that would be a great way of getting society involved. I'll just keep it short.
It's just like listening to what societies have to say and making their events well publicised. Obviously sports clubs are big, and if we can get sports clubs to pass the message on about societies, and not just say like we're a sports club, but to tell their members that there is societies as well if you want to join them. Yeah, just making societies as big as possible because they deserve their voice too.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. For me, basically, it would be getting my face out there so that they know who the APO is, they know who I am, and it's that they feel like I'm approachable. So the person that they need to talk to, if they have any problems, if they want to approach or become part of an event, they need to know who they can talk to, and I think it's making the position of APO and the SAC roles as approachable as possible. I think that's the way forward, because you can advertise it all you like, but if they know they're going to go and not see a friendly face, they won't go. So they need to know the people who are going to guarantee to attend it, such as the SAC roles.
Yeah, I completely agree with Molly, making sure that whoever is elected is as approachable as possible, and also making societies feel valued. I think there is a big gap between sports and societies, and just making sure that their voices are all heard and that they feel as valued as much as they perceive that sports are.
Okay, so the reason why I'm running for APO is because it's been a long time since we've had a society-focused APO, and I believe that that's one of the reasons why societies are not so involved as they might feel they are. They're actually bigger than the sports teams. A lot of our societies have like 200 to 250 people, which is far bigger than any of the sports teams. And one thing I want to do to make people more involved, or to help people get more involved, is by using the Societies Development Committee and expanding the roles of the Societies Development Committees to be similar to the school president roles, so we get the message filtered down just like it works alongside the education roles.
Fantastic, thank you. And we have to come to Tom because you can go ahead.
Sorry, just on Emily's point, so you just said a society-focused APO. Do you think that that would not leave sports in the dark? I believe it needs to be equal for both. I'm just checking, if you're going to be societies-focused, how are you going to make sure that sports are not being forgotten?
Sure, yeah. So I actually have been to university before and was sports focused on my first university, and I started off as a member of the kayaking club here. In fact, I found them before I actually enrolled in uni. The reason why I'm running is to bridge the gap between sports and societies, because I've got the society knowledge and I've got the sport knowledge as well, which does make me one of the best candidates for this role, to make sure that they are both equal, however not treated the same, because they have individual needs.
Brilliant, and can we just quickly go to Tom, please, Josie? I can't not go to you. And again, please keep it short. That was really good though, thank you. I heard you say I was getting angry though, so
Go on, Tom, take it away.
Yeah, so I know you all know about the new potential sports strategy coming in. In what way are you going to develop that from what we've spoken about already?
And we'll come to Emily first, please.
Forgive me, I wasn't quite paying attention during that meeting because it was a deadline day and I had my head somewhere else, frankly. Using the sports strategy to filter the message down, using sort of like, it looks a bit like the Maslow's hierarchy, and making sure that we give more areas for the non-committal sports. So at the moment, if I wanted to join a sport, I've got to pay a set fee to join, and there's that pressure to go every week. But as a busy person, I can't go every week, and I've certainly felt the pressure of that. And making these events, so expanding Get Into and bringing in more sports would allow more people to have a taste of that sport and therefore want to carry on, and therefore want to compete more, and then therefore work up to international level. Thanks, Emily. Steph.
Yeah, I think I'd need to look at the strategy in more depth. I think it takes a bit longer than a 40-minute meeting. Expanding Getting to different sports, and also putting things on weekends. I know as community students they might not be able to stay, if they've got lectures in the morning, they might not want to stay until the evening to actually be able to participate in a sport, as they might have work or other plans. But I think utilising the weekend spaces would also help as well, and getting more mature students in. That would help if they're very busy during the week with their kids. They can just take an hour off on the weekend to chill and do a sport that they've been interested in. So I think more research into it would be needed. That's what I think I want to do.
Thank you, Molly.
Thanks. Yeah, so I think Getting Into has been extremely successful this year. I know from a sports point of view, it's been something that everybody's heard about, a lot of people have been involved in, so I think that's a great aspect of it. But for me, what really spoke to me about the new sports strategy is the pride and passion that we're trying to instill in our members. And that's what excites me, obviously as a sports captain. That's what I want to push forward, is the pride in UCLAN playing for a team. And I don't think there's anything wrong with committing to a team and being dedicated to that team. And, you know, like for me, that's what's made my university experience, is being part of the team and the pride that I feel when I go out and put on a UCLAN shirt. So that's how I want everyone else to feel when they take part in sports societies, the same way that I feel when I put on that shirt. So for me, it's the pride and passion in the team that I will be taking forward from that.
Yeah, and another thing obviously that was mentioned during that meeting was to get more the clubs to work with obviously local, not university clubs, but other like sports clubs within the Preston area. So it's like getting the sports clubs to like work with high schools or colleges and stuff like that, because then we can obviously start in that area, get them interested within that sport, and then hopefully with what they've learned and experience that the clubs gain, that they want to come to UCLAN, which makes obviously more people come to UCLAN, the sports will get bigger, more money that's available, etc. to make the clubs bigger. And obviously with the clubs going self-sufficient, we need to make the money to be able to put the stuff on to make the club obviously bigger and better. I'm like I say, proud to be a part of the UCLAN sports team.
Yeah, so the sports strategy was mentioned on my manifesto, because I did research in it before me. And I was just looking into sort of the gap has already started to be bridged, because we've got a selection of sports going to take part in classes already, which are non-books, and that's a great way I want to step into. So having a societies start taking part and being proud of our uni in that way, and then touching on the fact that clubs need to be sort of hedging together, sort of more committee training and become more self-sufficient, and really kind of approach those sort of areas around Preston or local areas, and really start to sort of run those sessions, and then that'll increase the intake hopefully, and then I'll see Yeah, and clash of UCLANs as well as one of my other ideas, is just another way of working with getting to and sort of increasing that mass participation, fun, free activities, and that will then push to books, and then that will then push to the more elite players, and that's right.
Thanks, Ed.
My name is Tᴡɪᴛᴛᴇʀ and I'm running for Media Officer.
I'm Hannah Mason and I'm running for Media Officer.
Hi, my name is Charlotte Bolton and I'm running for Media Officer.
I'm Hayden and I'm running for Media Officer.
I'm running because I'm passionate about student media and I believe I have the drive and enthusiasm to take it even further than it has in the last couple of years.
I'm running because I've already done it for a year now. I've had all the experience of the past year and I want student media to have some continuity. It might just be for 2 years, but sometimes that really helps. And of course I've just absolutely loved it, so I want to stay.
I'm running for Media Officer because I think I can make a big difference in how the student media is run and specifically how it's distributed. I want to create a new angle for how it's viewed and make it accessible to all students.
I'm running to make sure that the other candidates discuss the issues that matter most for students. I don't intend to win, but I want to make sure that the outcome is best for everyone and not just for the Media Officer himself.
I have been involved with student media since my first week at uni and I've given it my all and I will continue to do so and make sure that student media gets as far as it can.
I'm the best candidate because, like I said, I've had the year's experience. I know the issue in and out now. I've been able to do a lot with the student media volunteers and implement a lot of change already. So to be able to continue that, I think will do really well for student media, and it would mean that it keeps continuing rather than stop starting.
I'm a fresh set of eyes within student media and I want to build up all 3 platforms rather than focusing on just one. I've spoken to different people such as course leaders and sports teams and I want to work with them and blend them into all platforms.
The fact that I'm completely impartial, as I said, I'm not running to win, so I'm running to make sure that the students get the best deal possible. Without me, it's going to be quite a self-interested debate, but I've got no interest other than making sure that it works for Frequency, for Pluto and for PSTV.
To continue to build on the good success student media has had in the last few years and to incorporate more sharing of content like sports and news, to bring back PR1 magazine to offer more variety for people to get involved with student media, and to implement social chairs in all student media, as I believe social life is what makes teams click and would take student media even further.
My main priorities are I want to have a student media conference here for the UCLAN student media volunteers. So we have a contract conference already, so something on that side with people from the industry and people from the university coming in to speak to students and help their employability and things like that. Secondly, I want to implement the strategy and changes I've already made this year. So we've got student media to finally move location, there's going to be a proper media strategy, so to make sure that all completely changes. Oh my god, I forgot the last one. Effective media training. And the final priority is to have effective student media training, so to make sure that all volunteers, whether they're managers or editors, have volunteer management, leadership training, and of course proper media training, whether that is with industry experts, the school, or people from the SU who can help them out.
I want to make it appealing to all students, consulting with them what they find interesting and adapting to make it relevant to all of them. By making student media accessible to all students, by putting everything online, making it accessible for students elsewhere for them to create content and see content. Using social media to celebrate and shout about everyone's achievements over the 3 platforms and to draw in audiences and volunteers.
My top 3 priorities are to make sure that all 3 platforms get the same level of exposure and an increased level of exposure to what we've got now, to make sure that the Student Union media brand gets out there more than it is at the moment, and to make sure that standards of teaching and learning are as high as possible, to make sure that we can produce the best content and make it as good an experience as possible for all the volunteers.
Fantastic. So I'm going to come to Astros first. So PR1 hasn't been around for a couple of years and you want to reinstate it, as mentioned in your manifesto. What content would you include that differentiates it from Pluto, and why do you want to bring it back?
I want to bring it back simply
to add more diversity in what student media there is. I want to bring it back simply as an online publication, so not necessarily to increase any costs. I would have it more sort of feature-based fashion magazine sort of thing, so that fashion, photography, art students can get involved in student media if they want to. So Pluto would aim more on the news side and be more of a newspaper, and then that would be more sort of feature-based publication.
Brilliant. And does anybody want to mention anything? Hannah?
Just a quick question. If PR1 obviously came back online, what would happen to the features and lifestyle and culture sections of Pluto? Because that would be taking nearly 10 pages away from the paper.
I'll still keep some of the sort of lighter features in Pluto, but I also want to implement like a special section in each edition of Pluto. So that would be like
Keep going.
so that would sort of make up for the lost pages, and just sort of make so that you could go more sort of in depth into your features in the magazine.
Fantastic. We're going to come to Charlotte next. So Charlotte, you've mentioned in your manifesto that you want to make all 3 platforms more accessible. Most stuff is already online, so how are you intending to do this?
Obviously most of it is online already. I think everything needs to go online, so commuters or part-time students that don't necessarily have time to grab say the Pluto, they can see it online while they're travelling. We need to make it approachable to other off-campus things. So like Burnley campus could host some of their radio shows. It doesn't necessarily have to be in our frequency radio here. Obviously, if you're, like say, at the Cyprus campus, you could still write for Pluto. You could do anything, as long as you can load online, you can do it. So we just need to make it more accessible so people can create and upload it.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's Ross.
How would you sort of incorporate that with PSTV? Because obviously you need more than just one person sort of to film a TV programme. So how would you make that accessible?
Obviously, you'd have to find out if there is an audience that wanted it and people that wanted to do it at those campuses. So say people wanted to work at FutureWorks, there'd be enough people there to make that, and then they could upload it to PSTV. So.
Brilliant. And then Hannah, with your effective training manifesto point, when would this training happen, and would all volunteers get these additional opportunities?
So it was something that we hadn't been involved with part of Tom's thing this year, but it was the Edition Academy. So applications was open for student media managers and editors a lot earlier this year, mainly so that all on campus so they can be, talk about roles and things like that, make that easier. So April, kind of think late April time, we'll be recruited, and then the last week of April, first week of May, all the managers and editors will be brought together for things like volunteer management and conflict management, learn how to do things like strategy and put plans together, because currently we just don't get that, unfortunately. And then from there, they would then go to their media-specific training, so it could be journalism-based, radio-based, TV-based. And then hopefully that is empowering those media managers and editors to when they get their volunteers in September, they can then go on to train them effectively. I know this is something that PSTV already do quite well, because they're freshers kind of workshops and training. They have everything from camera techniques to presenting to editing. So to kind of work on what PSTV have already been doing the last few years and make that bigger across all student media.
Yes, Hayden.
So you talk about making the training better, but how would you do that with Pluto, where currently the majority of the senior editors and yourself aren't journalists and don't have any journalism training?
That is about working with the school more, and hopefully with the film media performance and the journalism school presidents, that will help kind of bridge the communication between the school and the union, to incorporate the lecturers, they're there for a reason, the specialists for a reason, but as well using alumni. So we've had previous media officers who are now working with the top of the president, the BBC and things like that. So using the university alumni and obviously the industry, the LEP isn't that far away. We can kind of get them in to do talks, and one of the things I want to do is have a student media conference. So currently we have a course rep conference, so things like that, but for media, and have people from the industry come in and do talks, so similar to the NUS Media Summit, but just for kind of UCLAN students, and incorporating people from the industry to come in and share their kind of wise words on each platform.
Does anybody else have anything to on that? No, okay, so we are going to go to the floor. I do have some questions if anybody doesn't, but yes, we'll go to Callum and then Emily, please.
Hi. So my question's for Astros and Charlotte. As a current media volunteer for Frequency, I've worked with them both, Hannah and Hayden, so I sort of know, I've spoken to them outside, I sort of know what they're doing and what have you. And I just wondered, for you two ladies, how would you, what would you bring to media that would help me as a volunteer that I don't already get under the current team? That's sort of the question.
Good question, Callum. Okay, we'll go to Astros first, please.
Right, well, with my course, even though I've mainly been involved with PSTV, I do have to learn about print, radio and TV. So I have knowledge in all of these areas and I can offer my insights and help and everything like that. I don't have any sort of specific things I want to change about how, like sort of day to day, how you're running the media departments. I think it's all going around the world, to be honest. I have the passion and enthusiasm to do it well, and I do have the skills for every platform, even though I've been mainly focused on PSTV in my actual student media time.
And Charlotte, please.
Yeah, I don't have huge knowledge for frequency radio. I've worked with Pluto, and I'm a visual journalism student, so it sort of covers video and journalism and photography mainly. I think it would be a case of just learning with each other, sort of. I can bring a lot of creativity and passion to it, and I think that's just what I have to put into it, mainly.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Another question? So yeah, Hannah.
What would you like, Callum? As a student media volunteer, do you think that is one of the most important things? Because as the previous media officer left, there was like a kind of union volunteer survey. So some of the things that came out of that I tried to work on. So I think it would be about whichever one of us was elected, talking to the volunteers about their experience this year and then seeing how it can be improved the next year rather than kind of picking something that we think you need. It should be about what you actually think you need.
Okay, thanks, Hannah. And I'm going to go to Emily, please. Thanks.
So, as a current Pluto, one of the head editors, thanks for that insult there, Hayden, by the way. We spend quite a lot of time on Pluto each day. In fact, last night we were in the office until 3:30 in the morning. And it concerns me that you want to bring in another publication when we don't have the manpower. How are you going to, particularly Astros, but how are you going to make sure that we are fully supported as volunteers and that our welfare and we get sleep?
I don't mean to bring it on as an extra thing for the Pluto volunteers. I want it to be sort of a separate thing, obviously working together with all of them like they do now, but as a sort of separate publication, so there will be a separate team on it. If there aren't enough volunteers for it, then I'm not going to bring it back. I just want to have the option if there is going to be, if someone are actually going to go for it. So I don't want to take anything away from the current Pluto team, because I do realise that you work really hard long into the nights on deadline days. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
What about the welfare?
No, don't. Can we go to the lady there in the grey jacket, please? Sorry,
I am Anita, by the way. And I would like to know, how would you make students more aware about the Pluto and about the radio station, things like that? Because I've heard of them, that you can participate, but I never watched the radio broadcasting thing or from the PSTV as well.
Perfect. So if we start with Hannah, please.
So one of the things that I'm focused on currently at the moment and would want to implement and obviously develop throughout next year is a student media strategy. So obviously Tom's going to go through a sports strategy, and part of that is a massive kind of rebrand for student media. So Frequency Radio, for example, will not be called Frequency anymore, it's going to be called something new. And of course, part of that is student media is currently going through some changes and had to move the location into a much more visible, open area for students to be able to walk through and see it. But part of that as well is making sure that first day of kind of welcome period of freshers, that it is there, it's playing, PSTV are out there with the cameras and the hoodies, police are out there talking to students, Frequency are playing live in the halls and things like that. and making people hear it from the very first day that they're there. So part of the rebrand is a key focus on freshers, again the message out there as well.
Thank you. Charlotte, please.
This is one of the key points on the manifesto. I think it's not well known enough by students. I think people mainly know about the pollution because it's there in all the rooms, but whereas frequency and PSTV, they're not as well known. I think social media is a big way to push that and make that audience. I think just by sharing it on, say, Twitter or Facebook or tagging the author of the piece in it, I think it's a great way just to find those followers and hopefully get more volunteers and a stronger audience.
And Astros?
I think it's quite important to try and sort of get us more known around the union. I know it has been, my previous media officers have tried to sort of get it more frequency playing and PSTV playing around the union. And I think the relocation is actually going to really help with that because people are going to be able to see frequency playing. And if we can get the atrium to actually stream it until you can hear it, that's going to help massively. And to get PSTV on the screen. So I don't know if that's an actual viable option because I do think that Martin did try to do that and couldn't get it. But it is something that we do need to work on, and it's just about working harder on what we've already done, like PSTV around in their branding whenever they're filming. We do try and share it all over social media. It's just about expanding on what we're already doing.
Thank you. And Hayden, since you sat there, you can answer too.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to address Charlotte's point about social media and helping to push it out there. As far as I'm aware, PSTV has a much bigger social media following than Frequency or Pluto. It's not about that at all. I think that what is needed for the three platforms to get better is for the three of them to all work together, create one platform with different media angles, so that we can have a news team who work not just on a website or a newspaper, but also on the radio station and the TV station, and that we can create one team that work together rather than three separate teams who are all doing their own thing and are completely missing a lot of what matters. By having one brand that all work together, we can then push it out there more. So if you read an article on the Pluto website, you'd then be able to see, listen live or watch live, maybe not watch live, but watch what PSTV are putting out. It wouldn't be quite a lot of work and it would create one rebrand. It'd be very difficult to do, but I think it's the most successful way we can make student media better.
Thanks, Ian. Does anybody want to come back on that point? Go on, Helen.
Part of what Hayden just said is obviously making it into one specific brand, which I kind of agree on, but at the same time don't think it would be that successful. Because at the moment, people like brands like PSTV, they're well known, you can see them around campus. Pluto's online presence has massively improved this year, so people start to talk about it a little bit more. And I feel like if we just shove them all together, people are going to, those kind of individual brands are going to lose personality a little bit. But if we have it as a united, this is UCLAN issue media, this is what it is, and something I've been looking into, and universities like Loughborough are doing very, very well. So in the next few months, everything is going to move onto one website, and it's going to be UCLAN issue media, and have three specific kind of places. There's going to be the listen live button in the top right hand corner, you're going to be able to watch PSTV, or while you're reading an article for Pluto, so having it all in the same one shared space. And part of that as well, what Hayden's saying, like having people share roles within each kind of platform, part of the student media restructure, which will also come on to something what Emily said earlier about deadline days, is making the roles much more clear, making the roles more effective so that students aren't there till like stupid o'clock in the morning, and so that they know what they're doing and what their volunteer role stands for, rather than kind of being a little bit wishy-washy. There might be 4 people for one role. So
thanks, Hannah.
Clear enough.
Right, okay, we're going to go to Astros now. No, we're not. Sorry, we're going to go to Ariana. Sorry, she's going to run there. Sorry. PSTV.
Okay, so as the current station manager for PSTV, this last year we've had quite a lot of issues with getting volunteers and keeping managers in their positions. A lot of managers have dropped out during their time, and it's kind of been left to about 2 or 3 people that have had to get on and do it. If you were in the media officer position next year, how would you go about making sure that we maintain the support with volunteers and stuff, and making sure that people like myself don't get stressed having to be bogged down and it's kind of affecting my uni work, like making sure that the station's been running and stuff like that?
Thank you. So we'll go to Hayden first, please.
Thanks for the question, Ariana. I'm in quite a similar position with frequency. We've not had many people dropping out, but people maybe not fulfilling their workload and doing the job they've been asked to do. And it is quite a drain. The ideas that I have, and you're saying if I was media officer, that isn't my intention, but I can't make that clear again. But the ideas around that are making sure that people feel supported, because at the moment a lot is done over Facebook. There needs to be a lot more face-to-face communication and people working together to make sure that they know that they're valued, and that rather than them just saying over Facebook when they're not seen for a month or so, sorry I can't do it anymore, go and speak to them, try and offer them support that currently they don't have.
Yeah, that's right, thank you.
That's actually one of the points in my manifesto, is to bring social chairs into the management team, because I think, as it's just been you, me and Charlotte doing the PSTV, and it has been really hard, and we have not been as great as we could have been this year. And I think what I found maybe lacking is team spirit, and I think even though it's not necessarily about going out and drinking and all that, but to have some social cheer there to make sure you are having social events, you are seeing each other, and you're bonding like a team, and that way it works a lot better. Like the last couple of years, PSTV has been a lot better team when we actually felt like a team, and I think that is going to help us all support each other a lot more.
Thank you. Charlotte, please.
I think the main point is getting a solid set of volunteers that are going to give up their time and work for it. I've talked to course leaders and they want to get their courses involved with PSTV and frequency and Bluetooth and create live projects between them, so people are going to be working for these things for themselves and to get their courses grades. And I think it will just sort of create, they'll realise that it's something they can enjoy, and then they will get like a solid base, so they will want to carry on helping, whether it's about their course or just for fun. They will realise that it is for them, so I think that's kind of how to gain volunteers.
Thank you. Hannah, please.
Yeah, they're all great points, especially working with the schools and kind of courses that are specific. But at the same time, there's something that we all seem to have clearly missed out on here. The incentive, like why would you want to get involved with student media? So when I did it for something that was fun to do, something I was interested in, something that my course offer, but then at the same time, all the skills that I managed to gain from being a head of music was for employability. So now I have a pretty good LinkedIn because of all the things that I got involved with the union. It's about making student media kind of worth something. Yeah, it's great when you guys come together, because to be honest, I would say that we've got like a little media family, everyone knows each other and everyone gets on and that kind of thing.
Question, how would you approach international students to make them feel more involved and in the media?
Okay, we'll start with Hannah this time.
Hi Tally. I think it's a very, very good question, and international students are quite key to the union. They volunteer, they get involved. I think it's about being there when you guys first arrive. Obviously it's a new place, and maybe it would be good for student media to do kind of a get to know Preston, get to know your area kind of supplements to one of the things that Astros was obviously pointing out before. But maybe have extra support and work with the kind of TESOL and things like that to help you guys write articles and learn new skills, like English skills and things like that.
Charlotte, please.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much the same. I think just giving you the support that you need to help, so whether that is with helping you writing something or just teaching you some new skills to learn how to do things, just keeping everybody included.
Astros.
I am an international student myself, and I didn't find it difficult to get involved with student media at all, but my course leader was very much on about all the benefits that you could get from student media, so I really wanted to get involved. But like they were saying, it's just to be around when the international students arrive, because you do arrive earlier than us, than the normal students, just to sort of help them like know Preston and do everything to support them to get involved. If they need extra help with their writing and stuff, then obviously we would help support that. Just I don't see much of a difference in approaching international student than the normal ones, just because they're still students and they still have just the same needs, so I think just a bit more support if they're having language difficulties or settling in difficulties.
Thank you, and Hayden, please.
I favour the idea of having a first point of communication specific for international students. So rather than having station managers or people who are head of news or head of programming, whatever it may be, having someone who's there who can liaise with not just volunteers, international volunteers, any kind of volunteer who feels almost segregated because of some difference between them and everyone else, so they can say, this is what is important to me, and this is what I want to improve, and that's what I want to make it work for me, not just everyone else.
Thank you. And Tom, next, please.
So we've had a really good year this year in terms of use of Pluto online and everything, and the new booth downstairs, the use innovative. It's been really, really good, but how are we going to make sure that good impact carries on next year and builds on? How are you going to make sure that happens?
Right, we'll come to Charlotte first, please.
Yeah, it has been a really good year for student media. I think it's just to keep on branding it and keeping it current, everything, like being innovative and creative, and just making everything fresh like throughout the year and just keep on going.
And Hannah, please.
Yeah, I think that's where my student media strategy is key, because it's not just about what the next 6 months is for student media, but also looking at the next 2, 3, 5 years, so there are plans in place for the future. So whoever is the media officer in 2021 has something to go off for the last couple of years and has that basis and can set targets and goals for the year.
Thank you, Astros.
I think we should make the most out of the move downstairs to sort of in freshers, like, oh, it's all shiny and new, and look at us, we're this fancy student media, and to sort of keep the momentum going from freshers, because what I found the last couple of years that we've done really well with freshers, we've got loads of volunteers signing up, but then they just sort of drift away because we've not started getting hands-on soon enough. So just sort of starting getting straight into creating content and getting stuff out there and keeping them motivated and wanting to continue with student media.
Thank you, and Hayden.
From a point of view of frequency, I think that there is already that in place where we're creating content and we're live within 5 or 6 weeks of being back, and we have training before then. So from as soon as you come in freshers, people are joining in. I'll debate the statement that it's been a really good year for student media. It's been an improvement on the past, but that's because the bar had been set relatively low in all fairness. There's been more, I'm not going to say, from past media officers, not the current officer, it has been an improvement, but there is still a lot of improvement that can be made. Earlier, I didn't get a chance to reply, thank you Lucy, but earlier Hannah said that PSTV and Pluto already have their own brands and that we don't want to bring those. But what I have to think is that the average student's here for 3 or 4 years, and that when they leave, it doesn't matter what they're called because it's going to change. There's a constant cycle of new students coming in.
Thank you, Hayden. Georgie, your question, please.
Wow. Well, my question, I'm going to give you a little bit of information first, otherwise it won't make sense. So currently the process is that all the student media positions are actually selected by an application process and not elected like many of the other positions in different parts of the union where students take part. That means that when it comes to the media forum and council, which is the highest policy setting body of the union, there is no specific media student representation on council other than the media officer, whereas obviously you look at academic representation, you've got school presidents, you've got sport and society members. Do you see this as an issue? And if it is, how would you solve that?
Hayden, will come to you first.
Thank you, Lucy. You're right, Josie, it is a bit of an issue, but at the same time, changing it from a selected to an elected management team wouldn't be feasible because at the end of the day, it could come down to a popularity contest, and when you've got a media officer and other people who are relevant and can select the right role, and they know who's best qualified, I think that works much better than electing a manager, because you might not get the best outcome by doing that. I know that obviously we're elected, but it is a very different thing where it's on a much bigger scale, and people can view a proper manifesto rather than just saying, pick me because you're my friend. Student media is much more clicky than Student Affairs Council, or Affairs Committee rather.
Thank you, Hayden.
I think that volunteers should definitely still be selected, not elected, and at the last media forum, kind of reported back that all of us had unanimously agreed with that, we should stay the same. I think maybe if the council or if the media feel that they're unrepresented, that the station manager of Frequency and PSTV and head editor-in-chief of Pluto could come to the council meetings if they wanted to. That should be an option for them. But that, I feel like that could be a solution to that problem. But otherwise, I don't really think that we feel represented.
That's fine. And Charlotte?
As much as I don't agree with Hayden, I think it would end up being a popularity contest. I think you would vote your friends, whereas if you have that one person, as long as they're getting everyone's views across and everyone has the time to talk to them about the things, then I think that's fine. I think that's what works.
Thank you. And finally, Hannah.
Yeah, so obviously one of my action points was to speak to the media volunteers. They did come back and say that they didn't want to be elected, it should be based on skills and things like that, and there are volunteer opportunities within the union that are the same. But one of the things I was speaking to a volunteer about a couple of weeks ago, she's running for council chair, was about having media still being selected positions. However, when it comes to things like the media forum and council, having an election within those volunteer groups for the person who actually wants to be that kind of democracy representative for that group. So currently the station managers of PSTV and Frequency and then the deputy editor of Pluto automatically attend the media forum. And luckily both of them here have been attended. However, if there's someone who is in particular interested in that part of the role, then to have an election within the selected volunteers would mean that we'd have the best person, the most interested person, and get the rest of council as well.
Thank you.
My name is Audrey Chavara and I'm running for Educations Officer.
My name is Tᴡɪᴛᴛᴇʀ and I'm standing for Education Officer.
My name is Tᴡɪᴛᴛᴇʀ Stanley. I'm running for the 2016-2017 SAC Education Officer position here in the Students' Union.
I'm Joe and I'm running for Education Officer.
I'm Debbie O'Connor and I'm running for Education Officer.
Because when I was the president of the School of Engineering, I kept coming across a lot of issues that seemed to spew over to other schools as well, and I hope that I'll be able to bring change to these.
I'm standing again because I think I've achieved a lot in my year in office. I fought hard against the cuts to the maintenance grants, which are essential to so many of our UCLAN students. I've done a lot in terms of supporting our reps and increasing their visibility, and it's something there's a lot of projects I want to build on and take forward, and I have a lot more to give to the role.
I'm running because it's becoming more and more expensive for students now to come to university, and I feel it's time that they got the best representation for their educational needs that they possibly can. Not only in terms of tuition fees, but also in terms of them coming to university via commuting and accommodation fees can become very expensive, and I feel it's time that they not only start getting the money's worth, but also got the best experience at the time here. I also believe it's really important that students got a real voice in making the decisions that happen at university via them instead of it coming from the university.
I'm running because I think the current student cohort at UCLAN deserve far better than they're currently getting, and there are far more important issues that need to be approached than the ones that are currently covered.
Passionate about students' education, passionate about loads of things to do with education, and I think there's a lot more that needs to be done.
I feel as though I'm the best candidate because I have new ideas. I hope to have an inclusive UCLAN that encourages part-time students as well as mature students to do as well as the full-time students, have the same level of support for everyone.
I think I'm the best candidate because I have a lot of passion for this role. I really fundamentally believe in an education system that's free, accessible and liberated, and I think I've done a lot in terms of making this a reality here at UCLAN. I also sit on the NUS Higher Education Zone, which means I'm involved in shaping things nationally, and I'm really interested in bringing those resources onto our campuses and ensuring our students are getting the best education possible here.
I feel I'm the best candidate because I'm a third year course rep now for history. I've been to several NUS conferences, and through that time I've began understanding how the university works and how I could really implement some really effective policies which will help change things for the better for students. A lot of stuff I found out that is on a national level is really applicable to this university, and through the NUS and other means like that I think I could really implement some good policies which will help a lot of people that are currently being not disenfranchised but are having a bit of an issues with their time here at UCLAN.
I'm the best candidate because I know education policy, I can do diplomacy, And I know what the student body want, and I know that the things I'm suggesting are the things they're going to like.
Being the best candidate for the job, I'd say maturity. I show a lot of empathy. I'm passionate about students and education. Being a student myself, husband's a student. We've got another member of the family, my daughter here, so we're proper family orientated here at UCLAN. So it's their welfare, my welfare and students' welfare that actually counts.
Employability, to ensure that everyone feels as though they are ready when they leave university. Inclusiveness, to ensure that everyone feels welcome and that they are getting the best out of UCLAN, as well as making sure that everyone has some sort of mentorship scheme to help them throughout their university career.
My top 3 priorities is number 1, supporting our reps. So our course reps are genuinely the backbones of our academic representation. So I'm really interested in seeing how we can not only support them through training, but also develop them, and that would be involving giving them workshops on how to campaign, to take forward any of the issues that they are passionate about or that worry them, and so kind of giving them resources to be able to deal with that, giving them skills on how to run events if they're interested in doing that, also networking skills, just to really make sure they feel like they're getting out a lot about the role, because for me I think they're valuable to making sure students have a better education system here. I also want to increase the visibility of school presidents and make sure we're giving them a massive platform to shout about their successes, because they do a lot for us here. Number 2, I also want to build more on the Cut the Cost campaign that I've done this year. So that would involve things like looking into how library fines are being, where that money is being spent, and ensuring it's a fair system, and also reinvesting that money into developing resources and increasing things like core text in the library for our students. I'm also looking forward to building on the bursary or bust campaign, which is the nursing bursaries being cut, because I don't think a lot of our students could study at UCLAN without those. I'm also currently I'm the interim president for ADF, Art, Design and Fashion, and I know course costs are really a difficult thing that a lot of our students struggle with. So I'm really interested in trying to find subsidies in every department where additional course costs come, and trying to make sure education here at UCLAN is accessible and affordable to everybody. In terms of development opportunities, I also want to make sure students have the networking and opportunity skills that they should have. So me and Lucy ran a alumni network event that was really successful. So I want to make sure we have a solid alumni network here at UCLAN, and give students the chance to have access to mentoring, have access to employment opportunities. I'm also interested in postgraduate students, looking to go out and campaign for them more, working with the postgraduate rep to address their needs and stuff like social spaces for them, and also when it comes to postgraduate research students who also have to teach, making sure they have fair and safe kind of employment contracts.
The top 3 priorities I've said is making sure students get a really good voice here at the university, that they can actually achieve everything they want to while they're here at UCLAN, and they can openly and actively disagree with university policies that they don't like. Secondly, I think there needs to be greater communication between the university, the student union and then the students, to make sure there's no nasty surprises while they're here, and to make sure that they're being told everything that is applicable to them. And thirdly, I think it's really important that you have an education officer who fights for you at a local, university level and then a national level, to make sure certain policies from the government and from the university don't hinder your success, and make sure that you can actually achieve everything you want to while you're at university.
My first priority is mental health first aid, because we need to solve these things before they become a problem. The second is monitoring diversity statistics in the curriculum. We need to show that we are as inclusive a university as we think we are. And the final is a disabled students charter, making sure that every student feels comfortable with the support that they can get.
The DSA cuts, so I want to do a campaign against that. I want more interaction with course reps and school presidents, hold more surgeries, get together with education officers, say once a week, and find out what's going on. so we can have everything updated and know where we are. Sometimes course reps don't feed back to school presidents, and school presidents don't feed back to the education officer. So hopefully more to do with that. Lots of more resources in the library. Basically things like that. Well, there's a lot more on my manifesto that I want to cover.
I'm currently course rep on the acting course, and I'm running for Film Media Performance President for next year. And one of the big issues that we have as a course, which I think Megan mentioned earlier as well, with regards to the societies, is space. And we have times when we have classes in, say, Harry's Drama Studio, we're doing voice classes and there's law exams happening in the room next door. Whilst that's going on, there are also students studying non-media related courses in the media factory. So I just wondered what you guys are going to do if you're elected to solve the space issue and to help provide more space to those that need it, and to make sure that the students are being timetabled into the correct areas of the university that's relevant for them.
Thanks, Callum. We'll go to Joe first, please.
Thank you for your question, Callum. So something I've done over the past few weeks is I've had a look at the spaces we have available, because the new campus master plan is not likely to happen while the people sat in this room are student UCLAN. So I've seen the things we've got available. We've got masses of lecture theatres, we've got reasonably large rooms, and we've also got lots of spaces like the Tᴡɪᴛᴛᴇʀ cinema. So what I would suggest is that we talk to the university and try and get them repurposed. That may be putting in a floor that's appropriate, or adding a dressing room of some description. But what we need to do is talk to people and get the spaces that they want and they need, because we can think, oh yes, I know best. But to be honest, I don't. You know what you need, and I'm going to help fight for you to get it.
Thank you, Audrey.
This is an issue that I face as well as President of the School of Engineering. Where at the moment the plan that we have is to have open communication with other schools, so that we prioritise students for specialist rooms that require them, and then work on to fit in people where they need to be if they don't need a specialist lab or a theatre. Thank you.
So this is something Tom has been feeding into class on the timetabling group, and Josie attends to, and it's something we're really pushing, because I fundamentally believe, academic societies especially, that they should be having the spaces, and students need to be in the appropriate spaces to learn, and within, especially students with mobility issues, within their learning zone, so not having to travel from Vernon to all the way to Foster. That's a big issue. So I think from now what I understand is there's been a timetabling contact within each kind of school. So I think it's about working with them and ensuring when issues like that are raised, it's dealt with quickly and effectively. And I think I really think all our students should be learning in the space that they need, and I think our university is doing a lot around stuff around spaces for the future. So that it's about bringing students into that and really feeding into that, because I think that's somewhere we can have real impact and real change.
Thanks, Taz. And Stan.
I completely agree with what you're saying, that specific courses do need specific amenities, specific rooms. I think the easiest way to sort this out is get the heads of these courses in terms of the student body, the representatives, and then the reps from the societies, as well as the relevant people from timetabling, university, whomever, get them to sit down and just go face to face. Instead of email, instead of sending messages to one another, actually sit down and compromise on what's best for everyone. I think it's the only way we can do this, and that opens up more communication for future endeavours. Say you need rooms in the future, you know who to speak to, when to speak to, and this hopefully will resolve the issue that you have.
Thank you. Joe, we'll come back to Joe.
I mean, these are all lovely ideas, but the simple fact of the matter is that it's not an issue of timetabling. It's an issue that the spaces that the performance societies and the performance-based courses need, they don't exist. Now you can say, oh, we can timetable it better, but if you have 37,000 people going for a room that fits 15 people, you're not going to fit them in. That's a fact, and this is what we need to be resolving, rather than saying, oh yeah, you can have it from Wednesday from 3 until 3:30, because that's not good enough.
Thank you, Audrey. Did you have a comment?
The issue with saying that if let's say I got put into a position this year, the changes won't be able to be made until next year, because when I do some research into timetabling, it's actually an LIS issue, not just the school itself. So we need to have a better form of communication with the LIS and the university and different societies.
And Sam?
Yeah, I'm just going to disagree with you on that one, Joe, because we do have about 27,000 students, you're right, not 37,000 where we got it from. But I think the thing we do need to understand is we have so many students. At the moment, until we do get this big development from the university, we do need to share, we do need to compromise as one student body and understand that we do have specific interests, we have specific needs, and sometimes we can't always get that, and that's when we need to sit down together as leaders, as students, and compromise on what we can do.
Could I just quickly come in just with a comment about that?
No, I'll come back to Joe. Sorry, we just don't have time.
See, I've done some research into this issue because it's something people have been approaching me and asking me about. And it's a fact that theatre students, they need specific kinds of flooring. And you can actually get that flooring, so it's locked in tiles, so you can take it and you can move it. Why is it that we can't do something like that, but we can commission high amounts of money on a logo, which I think most of the people in this room would agree is hideous. We need to spend our money creatively, and we need to spend it well, rather than wasting on things we don't need and don't want.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else got any questions? Okay, I'm going to come to Renee, so I saw you first.
So Audrey, you mentioned a little bit about employability and how you're on a sandwich course and that it should kind of give an advantage. This question is for all candidates as well. What would you do to ensure that the student union and also the uni itself is increasing our employability prospects?
Okay, sorry, I'm going to come to Sam first.
Okay, hi. Following on from what Audrey was saying, I do believe that career prospects are an incredibly important part. We're at university to achieve our goals, to better our prospects, to get a job. I think the best thing to do is reach out more to people who are in industry, who are specific to our degrees. For example, if you are a drama student, speak to acting companies. If you are doing something with the media, speak to local enterprises like the LEP. I think the easiest way to do this is to speak to the people who are already in the industry to make sure our students know what they're working for, know what they're working towards, so they have that goal as well as they're on the end of the university.
Thank you, Taz, please.
I think there's already some amazing work. Like Lucy did a project last year on embedding employability within the degree. And unfortunately, a lot of our students are quite time poor. So for me, I think embedding it within the degree is essential. Just because even if they don't have the time and commitment to gain those skills anywhere else, at least within their own degree, you have those opportunities. I think there needs to be more paid internships in each department. I know I was from school psychology, we had some brilliant opportunities throughout. We had an undergraduate research internship scheme. I think things like that really need to be kind of broadened out, so everyone's having those opportunities. Me and Lucy also ran a really great BME alumni network, and I think our alumni, that networks need to be really strengthened, and I think a lot of them actually want to come back, and it's to do with mentoring as well. I think a lot of them want to come back if they've got students in the course, third year, second years. They're happy to reach out, and they know what it was like then, and they're quite successful. So I think it's about linking that up. I also think it's around building kind of a seminar kind of culture here at UCLAN. So our students are meeting, different speakers, high-profile speakers, bring them in, working with academic society, so they have those links as well. And I think it's about creating those alternative spaces for education as well.
Thanks, Taz. Audrey, please.
I've just got 2 points. The first one is I have planned to have school-based careers fairs because it doesn't seem to make too much sense to me to have one large room full of a lot of people, and most of the time we don't really cater to each subject. At the careers fair we had 4 representatives for engineering. We have 16 courses that are completely different, so when you go there it's not really relevant to you. The other thing is, building onto the mentorship scheme, is getting a person who's relevant to your course, relevant to your experience, because I can't go and fully mentor someone who studies art, for example, because I don't have the knowledge and skills to help them out.
Thank you, Renee. That's a really good thing to ask. So, at the moment, we offer huge amounts of things that add value to your degree. We've got the Microsoft Office Specialist qualifications. We've got the Livesey Award. You could do the Vice Chancellor's Award for Excellence. The World West Language Centre offer every student the chance to become fluent in a language by the time they leave. We could train people to learn to drive minibuses. We've got these things here, but they're things you need to go and actively do in your time. So something I would try and implement is to go with a university-wide volunteering module that you can do on more or less whatever you want. There are things like bullying interventions, community outreach, but something so everybody can choose something that's relevant to their field, and it will be assessed in a reasonably lightweight way, supporting facts from the people you work with. Because you can say, oh, we can do this and we can do that, but this can be counted towards your degree. You will learn from it, and then you'll have someone willing to put their hand up and say, yes, I think Renee did a really good job there, and you'll have a reference as soon as you graduate.
Thank you. Yes, Audrey.
The issue with adding an extra module is if someone's got 6 modules already or 7, depending on your circumstances, you don't have the time to dedicate yourself fully to this extra module. It should still remain open as volunteering. Volunteering should be something you choose to do in your spare time when you can, not, oh no, I already said I was going to do this, so now every single Monday, regardless of my workload, I have to because it's an extra module.
We'll come to Taz next because she had a hand raised.
With regards to the volunteer module, we actually have an amazing centre of volunteering, so CPUCL, and there's some really brilliant work on there. So is it kind of that you're trying to branch out into something new, or would you want to collaborate with them? I'm just curious about your approach.
It would be more offering something different. Because as it stands now, the CVCL stuff can count towards the Community Heroes Award, the Community Legends Award, and the Vice Chancellor's Award for Excellence. This would be taking it out of an extracurricular perspective and having it as an elective module that you could choose to do if you wanted that element that you can't get in your course otherwise. So perhaps for someone who studied media, they could have a placement to go and work with Rock FM. Perhaps someone that studied economics could go and do something with an economics firm based in Manchester. Something relevant to you that will be at your discretion.
Sam, did you have a point as well?
So just 2 points. My own question and then a follow-up to you, Joe. My first point was I disagree about adding more stuff to a curriculum. I mean, you look at third years, how many of us have got 6 modules, a dissertation, and at the moment, university is becoming so expensive for most of us, we actually have to work. Our student loans don't cover our accommodation. We have to work. The amount of hours we have to work just to make sure we have food on the table, in the fridges, and pay our rent is almost exhausting. So I don't believe we should be adding to the workload. I am curious, though, I do like your point, it is interesting. How would this be facilitated? Would it be the student doing this, or would they have someone to do this like the career search we already have in place?
I think the best way to do it would be let the student facilitate it themselves, because they know what they want, they know what they need to do. And if they can go to a local firm and say, oh, I want to do this, can you help me do it? Then it'll be far more likely that they'll be able to get something that's relevant to them. I mean, on the point of having an extra module, I'm not saying, oh yes, you will have to do this, you will have to do 200 hours of volunteering over the course of your year to pass. I'm suggesting it's something instead of an elective, so you would do your 5 modules plus this.
Right, I'm sorry, we're going to go back to the floor for more questions. Go to Irene.
Going back to what you said about the university wasting money on things like the logo that doesn't really matter all that much. They keep rearranging the library and knocking walls around, but the actual computers in there are just useless and they're getting worse all the time. How can we lobby the university to spend money on things that we really need and not things that just make them look prettier?
Can I come to Audrey first to answer that question?
You're absolutely right. There's a lot of issues in terms of the computers that we have. They're either too slow, and the other issue is that every so often they wipe them. So if you have to use any sort of software for media studies, you have to then waste 45 minutes sat there downloading something when you should be doing work. At the moment, I heard rumours that they are trying to spend more money on the PCs. Whether or not that's true, I'm not entirely sure. The other issue in terms of learning resources is the library books. Some courses have loads of students and only several books that are available to them, and they don't have an online version of it, and I feel as though it should be made available to us if it's there.
Taz, please.
I think that's a brilliant point that you raised, Irene. I'm really interested in kind of looking at the library in terms of how it's finding students and where those funds being reinvested, because I fundamentally believe they should be reinvested into those core texts, into those resources. I think we also need to think about postgraduate students. A lot of our postgraduate students, they don't have the basic resources that they need. They're having to buy, advanced levels of SPSS by themselves, and postgraduate study is also really expensive. So it's about really working with LIS, who I think I have to say they've been a good friend to us this year, and I think we've got an open and listening ear there. It's building that relationship and looking into how they're reinvesting the funds. So I think I should be going back into the library and making that a better service for everyone.
Thanks, Sam. I'll come back to you, Joe.
I completely, again, as everyone said, I completely agree with you. I think the easiest way to do this is sit down with the university, hold them accountable, and ask them what they're spending the money on that we're giving them every year. We're all 3-year courses giving them £27,000. I would not like to think how much that is every year. Sit down with them, ask them where this money is going, and then we can go back to academic forum and I can say to, I've got 70 media students who say we need better resources in the library, you should put funds here. The easiest way to do this is hold the university accountable, communicate this from the university to the student body, and then also communicate back to the university. Well, no, I've got all these students who want resources here, not, as we've said, in a new logo.
Thank you, and then Joe, please.
Right, first I want to say, if there's a resource that you need that you've not got, if you come and speak to me afterwards, I'm going to get that looked into for you, because if you don't have the resources you need to complete your course, then the university should be providing them under its tuition fee policy. But to continue, with all the things that are happening with the master plan and these new developments, that godforsaken logo, we are spending huge amounts of money on consultancy. Now, I'm not saying that we should stop doing these things because they need to get done, but in the future, these funds will be more likely to become available to do better things, which could mean a phased rollout of newer computers, it could mean doing it all over one summer. As an organisation, they're very unlikely to want to spend money at the same time as doing all of this. But as an education officer, what I will do is recommend to them, and that sounds such a policy thing, I will say to them, right, this is what students want, this is what they need to get, this is what they need. They need computers that don't crash every time you do InDesign. I ended the culture section for Pluto, and half of the computers in the office don't actually work. Now, this isn't good enough, but we don't need computers in there if there are computers that don't work in the library. We can do it elsewhere. It's about taking the resources we've got and having them where the most people can benefit from them.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, we're going to go back to the floor. Any more questions? Richard, please.
Hi. Hello. Right, guys, what I want to ask is how you will work with schools and so on to increase the disability support. Just to give an example to you guys, in my courses, a blind student who continues to ask the seminar teacher to email them the work because their screen reader won't work on Blackboard and constantly keeps getting forgotten about, and I'm sorry, I've forgotten, so on, and is now subsequently behind in the seminar teacher going, why are you behind? It's things like that of miscommunication. So what would you guys do to help improve situations like that?
Thanks, Richard. Can we start with Taz, please, this time? Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. That's a great question. As someone with dyslexia and dyspraxia myself, I know how I couldn't have survived through university without that. Right now, me and Lisa are working with the university to really step it up, because we all know about the disability funding for Band 1 and Band 2 marking being gone. There's stuff around implementing kind of lecture capture throughout. So currently we have 18 lecture theatres who are capable of recording the lectures, so it's about kind of streamlining that and making sure all our lecture theatres are able to do that. And motion passed, a few years ago about making all lecture slides dyslexia friendly. That, to me, that needs to be a policy, and where that's being kind of not followed, that needs to be called out and immediately fixed. In terms of schools, the disability coordinators, you need to work with LIS and making sure they're coming to the DAG group, so that's where they're meant to be attending, and attendance needs to be compulsory to make sure they've got the right information. And for me, I think if you're a disabled student, the university needs to be going out of its way to be making sure students can study. LIS also do lots of stuff around Low to Learn. So the issue that you mentioned with the blind student is about Low to Learn. Looks at kind of pages which the reader for which disabled students get when they can't. Sometimes they have dyslexia and they need it read to them.
Thanks, Taz. Sorry, that's time. Sam, please.
Hi Richard, thank you for your question. I completely agree, it is unacceptable if a student is falling behind based on neglect from a lecturer, whether they have a disability or not. It shouldn't be stood for. everyone at UCLAN is equal, everyone should be represented equally. I think the easiest way to get around this is for the student, if they're having issues, speak to the school president, speak to the course reps, let them know that they are represented at a university level. If it continues and after the course reps and the presidents haven't spoken to lecturers or vice versa, come to the Students' Union, come to your education officer, hopefully me, because this is the whole point of the Students' Union. We're here to change things for the better. We are here to represent your interests at the university and the lecturers who are part of that. And that is the whole reason we are here, to make sure every student can achieve their educational goals.
Thanks, Dan. Audrey, please.
There's a company I worked with before called Clear Links that helps students within university with support staff. So you have a person that comes with you to lectures if the was it relay called it, was not working. This person writes down the notes for them, they explain what's going on, kind of thing. And I think that the university should use this kind of same company to help students, so that we don't have to spend a lot of money on trying to fix a small, not to say it's a small issue, but in terms of technology, it's going to take a long time to try and fix it. So in the meantime, I think it would be a good idea to have a support person with you that can write down the lecture notes for you and explain what's going on and help you with the library service.
Thanks, Audrey. Go back to Joe, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. 9.9% of our student body, from the statistics the union gave us, are disabled. Now that's 1 in 10, so looking at this room, that would be a considerable chunk of us. I mean, I myself, I have mental health problems and I've also got Asperger's syndrome. So, first I want to say that Taz mentioned having a university dyslexia standards. At the moment, I've got something similar going through the big vote that would mandate the Students' Union to do that. So, if we pass that, then even before I've been elected, I've already made a tangible change that will affect the lives of real people. But note takers, though they're useful, they're one of the things that are likely to be cut in the disabled students' allowance cuts. So what I would want to do is work with the university to institute a disabled students' charter, so they can say, we will do this, we will do this, we will do this, and we, most importantly, we will give you the support you need. And if they don't do it, then you can say, excuse me mate, what have you done? You've said you're going to do this, why haven't you?
Thanks, Joe. Right, sorry Taz, we're going to take one more question. Tom, no. Sorry, really. We're already late.
So as a final year course rep, for a course of 6 students, I felt sort of neglected in the sense that our school president have organised meetings for 50 plus course reps for me to turn up with 4 other people and get cancelled. You know, it seems like a waste of time that could be using focus on the dissertation, things like that. So how would you look to fix this situation in a sense, and you know, what was wrong with the previous system and why can't we go back to it where you just meet course reps in your lecture side?
Thanks, Tom. So if we're going to Audrey first this time, thank you. Please keep your answers concise. Tal.
I've experienced this issue as well sometimes. Hardly anyone turns up to the meetings. And I think the main issue goes back to the training of the course reps and the school presidents. I mean, yes, you have a chat about what's expected of you and what you're supposed to do. There's nothing wrong with that point, but I feel as though we should spend more time explaining to the student body how important these roles are, because these are the people that are going to make big decisions for you. They're going to be the ones that are going to be voting. So people need to know and to make sure that we are all represented within the council meetings.
Thank you. Taz, please.
Seeing as we've got 93% satisfaction on our course rep training, I think most people feel sufficient. I think we could develop, for me, I'm really interested in, I think the training is top notch. I think it's about developing our course reps. I think it's making sure it's something that's really valuable, something they can get a lot out of it. It's about developing campaigning tools and how they can negotiate. Because I think sometimes our course reps, the training is great, but I think sometimes when it comes to you facing a massive issue like timetabling, you just need a little bit extra sometimes to navigate those situations, especially when you're trying to meet with academic staff. Those situations can be intimidating. And I also want to reiterate, I love our course reps, and I think often we need to remember that they are volunteers. You can't force them at the meeting. We hope they come to those meetings, but ultimately, as many of you surely, you have many commitments, and I think it's about encouraging reps to be feeding forward and having constant dialogues. Students should be part of their education. You shouldn't just be waiting until that SSLC to have a conversation. Actually, we should be encouraging our reps to be having conversations with their lecturers, and the lecturers need to be receptive to that and to be open to that.
Thanks, Taz.
Yeah.
Sam, please.
Hi Tom, I know exactly where you're coming from, mate. I was in the exact same position at the start of this year. There were 4 people on my course, including myself, and I'm the course rep for them. We only got told we didn't have a course rep because someone from the SU came in and told us this. I think the easiest way to get around this will be for the new election process we have coming in place, which is how we will all hopefully be elected in the coming week, is you get to elect your course representatives that way. It's visible, it's transparent, you know exactly who these guys are, and you can sit down with them and speak to them if you don't believe that they're helping you or helping your course needs. If this doesn't work, come to the education officer, whoever that may be out of us, because the head of the course reps and school president is the education officer, and any issues you're having with your course or lack of people turning up, come and speak to us and we'll get that sorted here.
And lastly, Joe, please.
I'm in a similar situation to you. In my course, there are 12 of us, and I know everybody by name. And the new course rep system, the new SSLC system, is completely useless for me. I could sit down, because I study languages, there are maybe 8, 9 we can choose from. I could sit down with languages staff, express my errors, and then never have them heard by the people who actually are in place to change it. So, not that I'm suggesting it's a good idea, but what I've always done, and it may help you, is to go, and rather than go through the terms of communication, go straight to the top and then let them deal with it, because it's more likely to get done. I spoke to the Pro-Vice Chancellor, and I got everyone on my course a cash refund, because we had to buy compulsory material. But with the issue of SSLCs, what I would do is try and bring back the fabled Wednesday afternoon off. So if we need to know people will be there, rather than going through all the confusion of doing a doodle or emailing however many people are going to be at SSLC. If we want people to be there, then we can know that they are more likely than not to be available on that afternoon.
Thanks, Joe. We're going to get 2 last points, so from Audrey, yourself, and then Taz.
The issue with training, I'm not saying that it's a bad job that's being done. I think it needs to be improved massively because, yes, I was given a pamphlet with information on what I'm supposed to do, but there was no folder with a record of what the previous presidents tried to do and what happened in terms of the action plans. No one seems to know where to find this information when I asked the school, and it feels as though perhaps we should have a record where someone can always access it and know exactly what was supposed to happen when and why it still has not happened.
Thank you, and Taz, last point.
I think having SSLCs on Wednesdays discounts the fact that so many of our school presidents are actually heavily involved in sports teams, they're in committees, and I don't think we should be taking that away from them because I think we should enable them that opportunity. Furthermore, I think in terms of, I think you make a really good point, Audrey, and I think handover is something we need to strengthen. Again, our school presidents are volunteers, but I think also encouraging them to sit with us and maybe helping them, enable that process. So I think legacy is really important. I think some of us, school presidents are sitting here in the audience, but they've done some amazing work about ensuring that can continue. Hopefully that would support the incoming school presidents. And I think in terms of training, I think it's really also about supporting school presidents, increasing their visibility and kind of fostering those relationships locally. So having, socials with school presidents there and their course reps, and it's about building their relationships. So, who your school president is, where you can find them. And if you feel like as a course rep, your issue isn't being addressed, it's about, being to feel comfortable enough to go to your school president and be like, can you scale this up and, have that addressed.
Thanks, Taz.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm Sam Johnson and I'm running for Students' Union President.
My name is Tᴡɪᴛᴛᴇʀ and I am running for President.
My name is Bowen Perryman and I'm running for Student Union President.
I'm running for Students' Union President because I feel like it's time for some change. It's time to make a difference and create more of a community feel here at UCLAN. We need better democracy and we need better representation for you, the students. That is why I'm running for President.
I'm running because I've been involved with the Students' Union for over 2 years now in various different organisations, in societies, in volunteering, in campaigns and activism, and I don't want to leave. I want to continue the change. I want to make sure that students are represented.
Because I think I can bring a lot to it. I'm currently a social work student and I'm the school president of the School of Social Work, Care and Community, and also I'm the interim president for the school, or the centre should I say, of excellence in learning and teaching. I've managed to do those two roles whilst also being on placement, and I've also managed to get through changes in policies in the union. All of those things I've done while still being on placement as a student and completing academic work. So if I can do those kind of things when I haven't got a lot of time, just imagine what I can do as your student union president.
I am best candidate for Students' Union President because I'm a confident person. I feel like I can support other members of SAC and Council to do their best and to actually create some change here at UCLAN. I'm a good all-round person and I would like to be your Students' Union President.
What makes me the best candidate is the fact that I have the most experience, I think. I've been involved with a variety of different sectors of the Students' Union, so I've been a volunteer as a course rep, I've led a society, I've been part of starting a new society, I've also done a lot of things around campaign and activism, so lobbying the university, knowing how things work, knowing the structure of the union, sitting on the board when we're hiring a new trustee. So all these experiences has helped me to understand what makes a good president, and I've also worked closely with the two SAC teams for the past 2 years.
I think my background in social work, the values that I have linked with social work, about participation, getting people involved with the services that I work with, and in this case with the Students' Union and the university, I have a good knowledge of how to tackle situations, how to chair meetings and to deal with problems and to think positively and deliver for people that I work with.
My top 3 priorities are creating a community feel here at UCLAN, are to reform democracy and representation here at the Students' Union, and create more opportunities for you to get involved, to volunteer and to get more jobs.
My main 3 priorities all circulate around the common theme of bringing students together. So I want to bring students together online by improving the online accessibility of the website and other services that we have, improving the digital technology. I also want to help commuting students. So 47% of our students commute, and what are we doing to help those students? And finally, I want to help students through volunteering experiences, so make it so that their academic courses can supplement some of the volunteer experiences that people go out on, and to improve student experience in general.
My top 3 priorities are in promoting your health and well-being, strengthening the student voice at UCLAN, and supporting all to achieve their potential. Under those headings, or those headings will be things that I make decisions on if you vote me in for next year. Things that, just to give a little bit more meat to the bones, promoting your health and well-being is about improving access to sport, trying to get the mentoring programme expanded, and also encouraging those breakout sessions and chill-out sessions are those key times of the year when you're during exams and when you're experiencing deadlines, but also encouraging all students to study in a healthy way. Strengthening the student voice is largely about getting more involvement of students within the decision making at the strategic, operational and individual level. I also want to back the student union media, that's Pluto PSTV, Pluto newspaper and Frequency radio station. I want to help whoever's voted in as media officer to expand those and expand the distribution of those so that they can act as a bigger voice for the students on campus. And finally, my supporting all to achieve their potential. I want to continue the things that we've done around housing. I want to make sure that everybody gets the right type of housing and the right housemates, because I know that's very important. with housing, I know that that's very important to your study. It can have a big effect on whether you feel comfortable and whether you have space to study and things like that. And I also want to continue the campaigns around hate crime and hate crime reporting for groups including Islamophobia, LGBT, and also women and disabilities. I also want to expand the role of mentoring in this degree as well, so that every student that wants one can have a student mentor that will help them feel at home at university, help them to settle in, and hopefully help them to stay at university if they experience difficulties.
Good evening everyone, my name is Miguel and I am running as candidate for president of the LGTB society. I have read carefully the 3 manifestos of the 3 of you, and I haven't found any mention to the LGBT community. And I am concerned because according to statistics, we are at least 3,500 people. So my question is, how or what would you do to integrate our society properly into the university life? Thank you.
Good question. Okay, so we're going to start with Sam, please.
So, as a member of the LGBT community, we've, over the past 10, 20 years, university and the LGBT community have come together a lot. It wasn't actually included in my manifesto because most of my manifesto is about supporting other officers, council members, societies and groups in order to promote that sort of thing. So even though I wouldn't lead a campaign on it, I would support someone else to lead a campaign on it. It's a very important issue, along with other liberation groups, that we need to create more of a community here at UCLAN, and instead of it being very separated as it is that each community comes together to form one UCLAN community.
Thank you. Sana, please.
Okay, thanks Miguel. Really important question, and yes, I haven't mentioned it in my manifesto, but I also haven't mentioned any BME students or any of the other kind of liberation roles, and that's because I want to make sure to focus on everyone. It's not about focusing on a particular group and making sure that they're represented, it's about making sure everyone is represented, if that makes sense. And my main goal, if I was elected as president, would be to make sure that the council members who are representing those, so for example the LGBT representative in council, they're actively listening to the students that they represent and bringing those things forward so that you guys can tell us what do you want us to do to make it better for you. So that would be an important part of being president, making sure to support other representatives who are volunteer, but also the campaigns officer, because it kind of falls under their remit. And making sure to support other campaigns, for example like the Out in Sport. It would all be about making sure to support other people in all the other representative roles.
Thank you. Bowen, please.
Hi Miguel, thanks for the question. Again, one of the reasons why I haven't mentioned specific groups is because I've written a whole union policy manifesto for every student. One of the things that I've done today, we talked about, you invited me to the LGBT Society last night, and I was really pleased to talk with you guys. My background is with the LGBT. That's where I started my student union life, as a campaigns officer for the LGBT. We talked yesterday about the possibilities of helping you get feel more safe at university, feeling more accepted and things like that. And one of the things that we talked about was mentoring. And this year I pushed through the council a motion on mentoring, and I want every student who wants a mentor to have one. And that's to help with people from international backgrounds to find their feet, find their way around university and feel at home here, and somebody to talk to when times are tough. And I want that to be for people who are LGBT, whether they're BME, whatever background they come from. And I think that's one of the key things that will help support students. As well as that, I want to support the societies. I want to improve the access that all students have to societies by providing the right type of training to the committee members so that they're able to access every piece of every resource that the Students' Union has to offer, and they're fully aware of how we can work together, how different societies can work together to make really good campaigns and events that you were talking about last night.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, does anybody want to come back on any of the points? No? Okay. Wow. Come to Tom at the front, please. Thank you.
If you could choose any 3 words to describe what you would bring to the role as president, no pressure, on the spot, what would it be?
Okay, we'll start with Sam, please.
I hate this question. Simply because, and I've said this before, I don't think 3 keywords ever single what one president should be. I think it's a multitude of different skills, and I think each year upon year we've had different presidents who've brought different skills to change the union in different ways. I don't think there is a standard mould for what a president should look like or be like, and that's why I want to be the best president based on my skill set and not on what a standard mould, what people think it should be, pretty much.
Okay, yeah, Bowen, please.
I'm not going to combat this one. I think leadership, teamwork, and a strong voice for students are the 3 things that I will bring to this role. And I've shown that through the work that I've done previously within multidisciplinary teams in mental health wards to get the right solutions for the patients that I work with or the people that I work with. And that's the kind of thing that I'm going to bring to the presidency role for your Students' Union.
Thanks, Bowen. And Sam, please.
I actually agree with Sam a bit in terms of there are different types of presidents. I think even in this row we have 3 different presidents that will be very different. But personally, for me, I think the top 3 ones are being supportive, so being supportive towards officers, to council members, to students, being good at communicating and listening, because they're major things for students. And finally, it's being transparent and being honest. Because if I want someone to hold me to account, if I don't follow through on something in my manifesto over this year and I get made president, I want someone to call me out on it, because that is the way the student union movement should be.
Brilliant. We'll go to, where's Josie sat? We'll go to Sam Winstanley, behind you. He's behind you.
Okay, so after speaking to a couple of people, you speak to a lot of people from different courses, and there was somewhat of a general feeling that the university has certain biases towards certain courses over others in terms of popularity, funding, things of that nature. What would you do to address this balance if a student came to you with a legitimate claim that they felt their course was being marginalised in the face of others?
Brilliant, thank you. We'll start with Bowen this time, please.
Firstly, I want you to get it out of your head that the university is anything other than a business. But I want it to be a business that has values behind it, and I want to make sure that everybody from the cleaner to the Vice-Chancellor is working for you. And one of the things that I want to do is ensure that we ingrain the participation of students within every decision made within the university, whether that's the individual decisions that affect you, the operational decisions, or the strategic decisions of the university going forwards. And one of the ways that I want to do that is I want to have a student representative on every single recruitment board, so that those students can ask the questions of people that want to be employed at UCLAN. How are you going to support students, and what is your value base?
Thanks, Bowen. And Santa, please.
Thanks, Sam. Good question. I think if a student came to me and said that this is what they thought, I'd look at the evidence and see what they're presenting forward to say where does this bias come from, and then I'd tackle it head on. I'd work with the education officer because obviously we're all elected for different roles, and I'd look at how best we can proceed forward. I think it would have to be an approach of kind of thinking about it first, not just going in all guns blazing and going, this is happening and that's happening. And I think that's a really key skill that every president needs to have, to be able to take a step back and look at it as a bigger picture and make sure that they can do the best and not as much as it is a case of kind of holding the university to account, I think sometimes you can often, in other unions, it's been seen that you can alienate the university by having constant protests and things like that. I think it's a case of working with the university and making sure that you have a partnership with them, rather than saying, actually, you've done this wrong and that wrong. If that makes sense?
Thanks, Anna. And Stan, please.
Yeah, if a student did come to me, it would be about consulting with the student, with the course leader, and with the school president and education officer, whoever that may be. I think Taz made the point earlier that it's about having that mutual respect and that you can sit down and actually talk to the university. And if we have that mutual respect, we'll have that relationship where if someone comes forward with a problem like the one you mentioned, that we can actually sit down and get it sorted, instead of going out protesting, and you'll see that it doesn't work that way.
Brilliant. Another question. So the guy next to Samuel Stanley. Sorry, I don't know your name. Let us know your name. What's your name?
I'm Tom.
Hi Tom. What's your question?
So at the minute, the Students' Union seems to be very cliquey. For me, as involved, you feel very excluded. How are you going to make students, not necessarily in the union, more involved and making more of a voice about it?
Good question, Tom. So we're going to come to you, Sam, first again, please.
You know what, I totally agree with you. There is a clique within the union. I really dislike it. I think there's obviously, you've got to form friendships within the union, but it's about expanding outwards, and that's about how you create communication and actually empower students. So you have to reward students for what they do, what they bring, and you have to encourage them to come into the union. But you have to go out there as well. You can't just expect students to come in. There's a clique because they're the students that do want to get involved. But then it's about getting students that are unsure, that aren't as much about, oh, I definitely want to get involved, because the Students' Union's got such a wide range of activities that I'm sure that most students will have something that they will like about the SU. They just don't know it yet.
Okay, yes, Anna, please. Thank you.
Hi Tom. So I kind of agree with you. When I first got involved with the union, I felt exactly the same. It was a massive clique and it kind of felt a bit alienated to try and get involved. But I think the best thing you can do, first of all, as an individual, is to get involved. Don't be taken aback by that. There are other people, there's probably a majority of people that feel like you rather than the people in the clique. The other thing I'd say is I've got a really good past experience of getting people involved with the union that aren't normally involved. If you look at all the things that I've done, I've worked hard to make sure that more people from different backgrounds have gotten involved. We've got such a strong pharmacy society, and that was to do with getting involved and having a bit of a controversial battle, but it was still getting people involved and making sure that they felt part of the Students' Union, and I think that's the most important bit. You've got to make people feel like they belong there rather than making it about a group of people. It's not about a group of people, it's about the union itself. And I think it's more about promoting those services to everyone, a bit like what Sam was saying, to make sure that there is something out there for everyone and it doesn't feel like it's a clique.
Thank you, and Bowen, please.
Again, it's not about the individual, it's about this Students' Union reaching out to those people. One of the things that I talked about before was the mentoring. Again, that's something that can help people find their feet at university, it can help people to stay on their course, and it can help them when they have hard times for somebody to talk to. But those kind of things can also help bring people into the Students' Union. I mentioned before I want to do a lot of support for the clubs and societies. They are our face of the Students' Union, the people that are actually working directly, and I want to make sure that they have everything they need, but also that their volunteers or their committees have the full training and the ability to recruit people throughout the year. So not just at freshers, but also some events throughout the year, working with all clubs and societies to make some really good special events. And I think one of the things we need to do is make sure that we have a structured and planned agenda for the whole year of things that are going to happen from day one, that we can hand out to students from day one.
Thanks, Bowen. Oh, yes. Go on, Sana.
Okay, so just to, Bowen mentions about the mentoring thing, and from my experience of being involved with the union for the past kind of 2-3 years, we did have a mentoring scheme. We had befriending, and befriending, does anyone know about it? yeah, it's no longer with us anymore. That sounds bad. It's no longer there. And there's a reason for that. The reason is because nobody was engaging with it. Now that could be due to a lot of different things, but I feel like the mentoring should be focused on academic societies and those kind of groups. I think it's not a case of trying to make something that we've already tried and know that doesn't work. It's about working with the groups that already exist to help mentors that are specific to people. It's not just generic, let's go make friends. And the other thing is, the university used to have a mentoring scheme as well, M&M mentoring. Again, that's not with us, that's not existent anymore.
It has made a comeback in a different form. Yes. Go.
I was trying to finish.
Yeah.
It's not the same as it used to be. It's changed, and that's because of student consultation. So I think mentoring is really, really important, but it's important not to just make it into a gimmick to say everyone should have a mentor everywhere and it's just someone random. It should be very specific to who that person needs.
Right, Sam, did you have a point that you wanted to say? You haven't? No.
I'm letting them help.
Okay, we're going to actually take this to the audience because Megan.
Can I respond to that, please?
No, we're going to go to Megan first and see what she has to say.
Thank you. Yeah, there is peer mentoring, and I do realise it has changed a lot from M&M. Someone who's been a mentor for 3 years. But what's making me laugh a little bit is because obviously the union's trying to make a mentoring scheme, but why don't you use the university service there and actually talk to them and make it a better service?
Right, then you can come back on that point.
Yeah, that's exactly what my motion, if you read the council motion, that's exactly what it was to do, was to work with the university, not use the union's resources. The reason why the buddying scheme didn't work was because we had two schemes trying to do the same thing within the university. Now I'm going to go and meet with Dr. Vicky Cook, who heads up the mentoring scheme. It's something that I feel passionate about, and the way it works is that people are matched on the basis of their needs. So if you go to mentoring, you should be able to go and say, I have a particular identity need, or I have an academic need, and that's my primary thing. And then what they should do is almost like the dating thing that you do, like not plenty more fish, but match you up with a person that matches your particular character and your particular needs. I want to work with the mentoring scheme to ensure that happens, to ensure that every student that wants one, not everybody has to have one, but everybody that wants one is able to access that. Thanks for point.
Thanks, Bowen. Right, we're going to go back to the audience, so we'll go to Taz. Please, thanks, Josie.
So some of you mentioned kind of sitting down in partnership and how that should be a tactic. There have been instances where, as officers, we've attempted communication and trying to get the voice students across. I'll give you an incident: the academic calendar. We were fighting for it to be very accessible, but the university went ahead and just went and just made a decision that was not actually in benefit of students. And for me, that was very frustrating. As an officer, and I think Josie echoed my sentiment. And how do you go around when university actually demoralises that feeling of partnership and goes ahead and actually does whatever it wants? What is your tactic, I guess, when you
Thanks, Taz. And we'll start with Sana, please.
Thanks, Taz. I think in terms of when you're an officer and you're in that meeting and you're trying to put forward the views and representation for students, I think one of the things you do have to understand is that you're not going to get every single thing that you want, and it's about compromise. So I think what I try to do, first of all, as a tactic, is go in there with all the representation and all the views from the consultations that we've had to make sure that the students' view is represented. And then if that wasn't the case, then I'd work, because I understand that you don't always have what exactly you're going with. Have a backup, say, okay, fine, if that's not what you want, this is the compromise, this is what we want. And if that's not the case, then make sure that it's completely open to say that the students' union had this view and the university still did this, to make sure students understand that we did everything in our power to make sure the university did this, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And not saying that that's a very common, I hope that's not a very common thing that happens, but I think it's about the person in the room as well. If you can carry yourself with evidence and make sure that you're prepared for those questions that they're going to inevitably give you, then I think that would help to make sure that those events are rare.
Thank you. Can I just remind people to put their phones on silent and not be watching videos? Thank you. Bella, can we come to you next? Thank you.
Again, I want to ingrain participation into the university so that those kind of things don't happen at every single level, whether it be individual, strategic or operational. But one of the things I would want to do in that situation is to go armed with lots of information. And I think that's one of the things I'm really good at. I did a research internship just recently and did some research on participation within children's nursing courses and things like that. So I know about participation, and I can identify when it is and isn't happening, and when it's tokenistic as well. So I would go in with that information. Again, it's about compromise. It is about talking about things and reaching the best all-round decision in the whole, as opposed to just arguing maybe individual points. I think we have to get things right as a whole for students, not individual issues maybe.
Thanks, Bowen. And Sam, please.
Yeah, I agree with both the other candidates in terms of that if you've got a lot of research and you've gone out and consulting with students, getting quotes, and you can put yourself across in the right way, that may be able to make a change of decision that's already going to happen. If not, as is the case in here, it's then about speaking to students again and going, how do we go back against the university? Is it the students really care about this issue? Do they know about it? Because as soon as students are aware, you actually see them start to get angry and kick off. And that's about engaging students in a different way and actually making them know what's going on at university level, and that there's actually problems with that it's not just being blamed on people like yourself or the Students' Union, that is the university.
Thanks, Sam. Sana? Yes.
The other thing that I wanted to add was, when you are a sabbatical officer, from the information that I have, you have a network of all the other SABs that work around, up and down the country in all the other unions. So I think it would be really important as part of the NUS and the networks that you get involved in, is to see what other SABs have done in their university, see if you could try it that way. And also, if things haven't gone the same way, maybe use the same documents, look at those kind of things, and look at the policies and how they attacked it, and well, maybe not attacked it, but maybe look at the way that they approached it, and see if you could try and do the same thing here.
Thanks, Anna. Right, any more questions? Right, we'll go to James.
How do you plan to engage or reach out to students who don't study on this campus but are entitled to a representation, such as placement students or even the Cyprus campus?
Thank you, James. And we'll start with Bowen this time, please.
Thank you for the question, James. I recognise that's very loaded with your future in Disneyland. Again, I'm a placement student, and nursing students are placement students. It's a very difficult issue, and I want to really have a look at that, because in my experience, those people that are on placement, and this may well be the same for you, unfortunately, you'll get so well into the work and stuff that you're doing that the Students' Union will be very difficult to get involved with. And I think that that's probably the right way for students to go, is to really engage themselves in what they're doing. Having said that, I do want there to be opportunities for students to get involved with universities. We need the university. We need some things that are available to students later on that they can access after work and stuff like that. So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Samia.
Really good question, and it is mentioned in my manifesto as well. I think one of the best things we can do is try and remove the physical barrier of having to be on campus to access the services that we have. We are a digital age now, so we keep being told in the news. We should act like it. I think it's about time we look at the digital technology we use currently, update it, make sure that we can do things like Skype meetings, or even simple things like have an online access forum for students who want to get engaged in council, a bit like that old thing we all used to use called MSN, and do virtual learning environments and things like that. I think it's so important we look at all the other ways that people are engaging with their councils, with their unions to be represented, to make sure that we can do the best that we can as well. And we've actually started those changes. So one of the first changes we made as part of council was making it so that students didn't have to be present. Students who are representative who get a vote don't have to be present in meetings. They can send in a written vote, which is good for students who aren't always available for the 5 o'clock till 9 o'clock meetings we have sometimes. And for replacement students and other students who commute or whatever the reason is, I think it's really important that you make sure that those students are represented as well. And I think the way to go about that is to improve how we go about doing things online.
Thanks, Anna. Yeah, we'll come to Sam and then we'll come back to you, Paul.
Yeah, some great ideas about updating the how we engage people online. One thing though is a problem is that the Advice and Rep Centre did try Skyping as like a way to communicate, and that failed just because it was extremely hard to. So I think yes, we do need to look at it, but we need to look how appropriate it is. But one of the things is with off-campus students is agree with Bowen is that they need to be concentrating, if you're on placement, on that. However, we do need to engage more with off-campus in like Burnley, in other campuses around there, with community students that can't always access our materials physically within the union. And that's something we need to look at and actually communicate with the students about, and actually speak to them and be like, how do you want us to speak to you? Because there's no point in us going a certain direction with no consultation and then turning around and being like, well, what was the point in that? We've just wasted money and resources on nothing at all.
Thank you. Bowen, did you want to come back? Yeah.
I think there's a bit of cop out on the technology side. I think Skype, we know Skype works, and we should be able to use it to allow students from off campus to be able to engage if that's what they want. But also, I think we've definitely talked about changing the website a little bit, and I'd definitely like to see some microsites added to our website. I'm not seeing Gary saying anything. I'd like to see some microsites added to the website so that all clubs and societies can have their own area to promote their society, to have blogs on there if they want to. So we have got a student parenting society. You know, those people are very, very busy, but they could write blogs and things like that and communicate via the website about their experiences. And I'd encourage all students to get involved in blogging. Blogging is a great thing to get your opinion across. And certainly societies would benefit from being able to promote their events within the Student Union website.
Thank you. Can I also ask candidates not to name staff members? Yes, Sally.
Just to come back on the idea of microsites and societies and sports having their own individual sites, I actually think that's the wrong way to go about it. I think it should be one shared site, because I think one of the key things I've learned from speaking to students is that people want to integrate, people want to go to other society events, people want to try new sports, and how are they going to do that if the only people that can access it are the people in the sports or the society groups? I mean, that's what closed Facebook groups are about, I think. I think instead of doing something like that, there should be something on the SU website to maybe even like a central calendar, a bit like what UCLAN has, where you can put on what's on, and that can help students to see, okay, so there's this happening on this day, and there's something else on this day, and it's easy and accessible right there on the first page to keep up to date with events, because I think making people come and, well, not making them, but giving people the opportunity to come and attend events is one of the best ways you can learn about what you want to do. And I think at university, that's one of the main things. You don't know exactly what you're into. You come and get involved with different things and find out and kind of develop as a person. And I think if you had more opportunities with things like a shared calendar, that would help.
Thanks, Anna. You all speak so quick, so I can't interrupt. Right, we're going to go get some more questions from the floor.
Hiya. It's a general question to all of you again. But what achievements and experiences so far do you all think you've had to help you become a better president, if that makes sense?
Good question, Irene. So we'll start with Bowen this time.
Okay, so as well as my previous experience with social work, I've also been a charity trustee for a young people's charity in Preston before. So I've got a lot of networks within Preston. Within the Student Union side of things, I've been both the school president of 2 schools and ensured that student voices are heard and that actions are taken. And I'll be having my next lot of SSLCs during the election week, in actual fact. So I'll have fun holding staff to account on those things that they've done there. In my first year, I was a campaigns officer for the LGBT Society, and I got involved with things like the Stop Hate campaign, which is around hate crime for all minority groups that are protected under the Act. I also got involved in World AIDS Day, where I got a number of community organisations to come in and present to the LGBT Society and other people. We actually put some posters around university, and they talked about how it is to live with HIV and AIDS, and also did some sexual health advice for LGBT people. Thank you, Rich.
Yes, Anna, please.
Good question. I've been involved with the university 4 years, but with the union for about 3, and each stage I've worked my way up. So I started off as leading a society, being a volunteer in a society, which I'm sure a lot of people in here have, and then I came forward to co-lead that society with Yusuf up there at the top. He was going to shout at me if I said lead. It's co-lead. And then I was also a course rep for my year. Anyone that knows pharmacy knows that we've had quite a few different issues, but I was the one who represented the year group to the university. I've been chair of council for 2 years, so I understand how all the different organisations work. I've also successfully campaigned for different things throughout the years. And lobbied against the university for things like better faith facilities, and that was based on consultation I did with all the different faith societies. We came together for the first time in years and did this massive Interfaith Week, which we bid money for from the NUS. All of these things are what makes me a really experienced candidate for being president. On top of that, I've got a list on so I've also done a lot of work with Lucy on the Quiet Rooms campaign, which was for students who wanted to have a bit of time in their day. And I've also this year I've worked on the Refugees Welcome campaign, which I'm hoping everyone has heard about. And we've made some fantastic achievements. We had students that went all the way to Calais with lots of aid, and it was all collected by students. It was a fantastic thing. I also worked with Renee and the sabbatical officers on the UCLAN Day of Peace, which was a response to the tragic events that happened in Paris and beyond around the world. So in short, I've done a lot.
Thanks, Anna, and finally Sam, please.
Yeah, I won't go through the whole list because I'll just do the 4 main points that I picked up on. I was elected to Manchester Youth Council, and I did that for 2 years. I represented people of our college because we went to the same college.
Oh yeah, we did. Not at the same time.
No. I was also something that I don't think we've actually picked up on this debate yet is governance. And I was actually a student governor at the college, so I've had experience of governance of an organisation. I also sat on the Young People's Committee of Manchester, so they dealt with all the children's services around Greater Manchester. So I've had quite a few representative roles, and they've given me the ability to have confidence and communication between me, local councillors, MPs, and quite a range of different people. So, yeah.
Thanks, Sam. Right, we're going to take one more question.
So, simple answer this one. There's a potential democratic review, and the student union president position might be one of 2 following things. It might either be a general manager kind of position, which is equal to all other positions on the SAC, or it becomes a higher level role and sits above the other officers. Which one would you pick?
Going off my list, we'll start with Sam on this one, and we'll work up towards Bowen.
Okay. I'll answer your question, but seeing as Josie throughout that whole thing was shaking her head no, then I'm guessing that's not going to happen. Hypothetical. Oh, hypothetical. So if it hypothetically happened. Okay. One of my big things about next year is working as a team. I wouldn't want anyone's position to be higher than the other. I personally feel like at the minute that's what anyone's role should be. That yes, a president may chair the board, which I kind of feel like maybe it should be a rolling chair or something like that to change it a bit. Representation on different boards at university, I reckon, should be ranged out amongst different sabbatical positions and maybe some council positions, depending on how appropriate. So I definitely don't think that anyone should be higher than any other. It's more about checks and balances and making us accountable to each other's organisation, so council, SAC, whoever, and to the student body.
Okay, I fear that everyone's going to be really repetitive in this because we probably all believe the same thing. Yeah, it's all about teamwork. It's all about making sure that you can pick up the rest of your team as well. Like I said before, this role is intense. It's hard working. You have to do more than, like Sam said, more than the 9 to 5 hours. And it's about making sure you're there for each other. So in terms of having a higher level role or having a general manager role, to be fair, it doesn't matter what the role's called. All you have to do is make sure that you are there for everyone else and you do the absolute best that you can do.
Again, it's got to be about teamwork. I'm sorry that's repetitive, I had to say it. I think one of the things that I've learned through looking at people's manifestos and having discussions with people is that there's some bloody great ideas out there, and I really want to work with everybody to make them come to fruition. So I don't think there's a single candidate that I couldn't work with, and I want to say that I will work with you as a member of your team, as a fellow team member, to make things happen, and I hope you'll do the same with me.
Brilliant, thanks guys. So if you want to give